I played 200 days of Stardew Valley EXPANDED as a thief. Though really, it's more than that because today you'll see my full second year. Ember and the crows provided no shortage of shenanigans in the first year, which, if you missed that video, check it out first. It really sets the scene, and there were some truly unmissable moments back then. But this year, Ember has some new tricks up her sleeve which I'll get into shortly. At the end of last year, I said I wanted to see how close to perfection we'll get. I think I was even hoping to achieve perfection in year 2. It didn't take me long into the year to realise how unrealistic of a goal that was, so I pared things back a little, and here's what I'm aiming for now. I want to claim all the masteries. Remember, we don't even have level 10 in all the skills yet. I want to achieve a level 10 binning. It's not needed for masteries, but I want to get into some high level trash cans. I want to get married, not going to tell you to who yet. I want to build an obelisk, any obelisk will do. And finally, I want to get a key to the town so I don't have to worry about my lockpicks breaking on me. These might not sound like a whole lot, but with the rules of this run limiting what I can get my hands on and the gifts I can give out, this year was certainly a challenge. Now for these new tricks I mentioned. I got recommended a certain mod on the first thief run, and it's called the Scaring mod, except it has a thieving version of its skill line instead. Ember can now pickpocket the townies directly. I'll explain how all of this works as we dive into the year, and as always, all the mods I use will be linked in the description. Hit that like button if you're as excited as I am, and now, let's get into it. Happy New Year! On day 113, I woke up to a queue of visitors at my door. The first was Kent here to introduce himself, then Evelyn to give me a free garden pot and its recipe, and finally there's Scarlet, who's now friendable now that we've got 8 hearts with Sophia and finished the community centre. Opening my mail, I found a notice of inflation that we're obviously not affected by, but what will hurt is the tax bill that's due tomorrow. I need to pay 51 grand, and I only have 28, so in addition to the new season rush of planting crops, I'll also need to make a lot of money. It certainly helps that I've hoarded a variety of items for a moment like this. Partway through 10 of my fields, I remembered I needed to change some settings for the scaring mod. If you remove the spooky, it turns it into thieving instead, which obviously is what Ember is all about. I didn't adjust any of the XP values, and this won't take effect till I remember to restart my game, which admittedly did take me a couple of days to do. You'll see soon how the pickpocketing actually works. For the crops, I had some seeds that I prepared last year, but it barely covered my sprinklers, so I boosted it with some extra crops turned into seeds, and of course I'll need to pilfer some in town. On my way out of the farm for the day, I saw Emily in town giving Sandy a bit of a tour. Sandy plucked up the courage to ask me to show her around the farm. I've had enough visitors today though, and I have places to be, so I brushed her off, much to her disappointment, then found Lewis at this little fence bit just beyond the library. Lewis offered me this abandoned garden. Who am I to say no to some free land? It would usually be full of debris that I'd need to clear, but the crows had done it for me. Full disclosure, I forget about this little patch for the rest of the year. I spotted an opportunity as I was passing Victor, staring off into the side of his house. With his mind absent, I walked up behind him to pickpocket an egg. Annoyingly, the default keybind is the same as the one that brings up the calendar, so I just made sure to change one of them so they don't conflict, but looking at the dialogue he didn't seem to notice. The skill does seem to work to an extent without restarting the game, but I will still do it on a future day. Pierre was outside the store by this point. No seeds for me today, but there were a bunch of saplings I can sell towards the tax bill. I tried to pickpocket Pierre just outside, but I think he caught me. You come to learn that whether or not you're caught, you often don't actually receive an item, especially at lower levels, and the pickpocketing does come with a cooldown, so you can't just spam it on everyone. You do apparently lose some friendship if you're caught, but I'm not exactly sure how much. After coming home to dump more stuff into the shipping bin, the resulting night's profits totaled 33,000 gold, and so for day 114, my taxes were paid in full with some cash left over. Phew, that was close. With the day planned of gifting, I could sense the wizard was at the railroad whilst I was up there to bring something to Susan. He needs his magic ink back from the witch hut, but he didn't have the guts to get it himself, so he tasked me with a visit to Krobus so I can gain entry to the cave and get it for him. Marlon then waved me over at the graveyard with an offer I could not refuse. He asked me to accompany himself and the wizard to some special meetings about new adventurers. They're trusting me with this? It's all going according to plan. I'd be honoured to join the meetings, and I'll be notified when it's time for my first. Now I could get on with some gifting, plus a delivery to Susan of a leek. Give me that prize ticket. When I got into town, I handed my axe to Clint for its copper upgrade. If that sounds familiar, it's because I've done this before. But when the crows stole my axe last year, they pecked off all the upgrades before they dropped it elsewhere, so I gotta upgrade it again. That prize ticket just got me a houseplant. I suppose I should put it in my house. Olivia, Marnie and Jody got gifts after their aerobics class whilst I was in there waiting for Pierre to vacate the counter area. An amethyst delivery to Jody finished up her friendship. That reminded me I should probably get started on Kent's friendship, and I should return that war memento to him for Birdie's quest, and after I finished up all the gifts, I kind of forgot to shoplift. I traded the tomato salt with Gus as well to get the rose, but I won't be visiting Sandy tonight. Instead ducking into the sewer to get Krobus to open the bug lair in exchange for a wild horseradish. It didn't take me long to track down the Dark Talisman, but getting into the Railroad Cave is a task for the back burner for now. A baby dino hatched in the coop on day 115. Sticking with our drink theme names, this one has to be Gatorade. I then found that one of my spare ancient dolls was calling to me, telling me to bring it to floor 100 of the mines and chuck it in the water. I don't know why I listened to the inanimate object, but I got quite the fright from this bone serpent who chucked a big green rock at me. Good thing I can catch. I think I've got a sense for where this goes, but I don't fancy dealing with that right now. I got a prismatic slime to hunt. I repeatedly reset floor 5 for this task, finding another combat level along the way, and even attempted to steal loot from the slimes. Speaking of stealing, I did have a quick break in the evening to shoplift from Pierre where I bagged quite a few saplings, then finally encountered the prismatic slime late into the night. As much as that wore me out, it wasn't exactly the most peaceful sleep with a lightning strike at the old Jojama, but a berry harvest in the shed could refresh me a little the next morning. I brought the wizard the prismatic jelly I obtained last night. Got shooed away with my payment, but before leaving the tower, I headed to the basement where the faraway stone was drawing me to. Placing it on the branch, it began to spin of its own accord, and a portal opened up in front of me. A little cat briefly popped out, handing me a present. The Meowmere from Terraria. The damage isn't great on it, but I'll be keeping it to fuse later with a galaxy sword, just for cosmetic purposes. I didn't even care about the telling off I got from the wizard. Jody's was my next stop to bring Kent a butternut squash for his birthday, along with a Stardrop tea to get a good boost from this new face. I'd restarted my game by now for the thieving skill, and testing it out on a dishwashing Jody, I swiped a whole king salmon. This is one of the Stardew Expanded fish. If I remember correctly, it's feisty enough that I wanted to wait for the advanced rod before attempting to catch it. My special order price ticket got me 15 bums, then I collected my upgraded axe from Clint, and brought Shane a herring he requested, before a failed attempt at pickpocketing from him. The S counter wasn't much better either, with just some chanterelles and some speed grow. Alex's pockets were a win though. I stole his salmon dinner. I would just gift it to him right there and then, but you must know that stealing from someone effectively uses a gift attempt for the day and for the week, so I can't just immediately repair the friendship. Returning to the farm, I crafted an iridium band to replace my glowstone ring. Not gonna lie, I don't even remember getting the lucky ring I'm wearing, but it's there. Going to bed that night, I had level 1 thieving to boost my steal chances, and I guess we have more craftable rings now. Then, on day 117, I received the Monster Musk recipe by mail and couldn't wait to make my first bottle for whenever I may need it. I browsed the travelling cart for the first time this year, but didn't buy anything on my way to the secret woods to go back for the star drop I forgot about last year. I didn't want to give it away last fall, but I didn't actually realise till I was editing that I left it behind. Anyway, that's another freebie flavoured fruit to our name, or our stomach. I found nothing in Pam's pockets whilst I was heading to the mines. She's a pretty frequent target because I walk past her so often. I just blamed my bumping into her on clumsiness, as I tend to do when I get caught. Not my fault if something valuable ends up in my hand somehow, it's an accident, right? And it's finders keepers. That's totally how it works. I wanted to use my monster mask for an afternoon of dust sprite slaying towards the theme appropriate burglaring, and for today's shoplifting break, I chose Clint's whilst he was off at the community centre to stare at the boiler. I got a decent haul of lockpicks, frozen geodes and coal, and as for that monster slayer goal, I stayed in the mines till midnight but didn't quite get there today. Gotta be a lot of progress though. Day 118 began with a bit of farmwood chopping before gaining my final farming level whilst petting all the animals. Now just a single combat level stands in front of unlocking the mastery door. I visited the desert to kick off another afternoon of gifting, but I forgot that Sandy now goes out on a Saturday. Unfortunately, the note on a counter is still just as effective of an anti-shoplift device, so I'd only be able to steal from her on her birthday, and that isn't till fall. I could at least come away with some gold carrot seeds from the desert trader, along with some wood from a few of the trees that I planted here. Then it was back to the valley to hop on the train to Pondwood for the first time. I wanted to visit Scarlet with a gift. Friendships are a lot to deal with in this world, so I'm allowing the train ticket purchases, but I still wondered what it was that possessed me to spend a whole 1,000 gold just to hand out a gift. And then I found these trash cans. Oh my god! Now that was worth it. Sandy did end up getting her gift over in the saloon, along with the Stardew Valley rose which she traded for a TV remote. I handed that to George which she swapped for an Arctic shard. That's surely got to be valuable to a wizard, but all he gave me in return was a worm! Ew. I'll bring that to Willy when it's not nighttime. For my level 10 farming profession, I picked artisan. I'm really going to need the profit boost. We had a lot of veggies to harvest on day 119. I didn't have much to replant at that moment, so I headed off to the travelling cart but heard some mysterious sounds further south that felt worth investigating. I found myself in a new area of the forest where Krobus was playing with a Junimo. I didn't feel like getting lost out there this morning, so I turned back around. I'll check this out another time. I bought an extra starfruit ready to turn into seeds, then brought the mayor a hot pepper for his birthday, whilst heading to the abandoned Jojama to have a look at another Junimo related matter, the missing bundle. Out of all of these items, I only expected to see the caviar. This bundle is going to be more of a pain than I hoped. Like the recipe for the Void Delight there is going to need 10 hearts with Crowbars, and I'm pretty sure I've only got 1 battery at home. I carried on up the railroad to open up the cave, but the swamp inside was completely different too. I wonder what the witch was laughing at as she flew overhead. And, well, here's a screenshot of the place. I gotta navigate a huge, dark, dangerous maze to the opposite corner. I wasn't afraid of a few new monsters, though perhaps I should have been for some of them. This giant ghost took out almost all of my health in an instant, which landed me in Harvey's clinic. I lost 1,000 gold in fees, and I can't definitively say that it wasn't him that stole a few bits of monster loot from me. Still, these losses weren't all that bad. I munched on some potatoes that I forgot to put in my shipping bin, and got my revenge on Harvey by shoplifting a few sports drinks from him, then came back home to plant more potatoes that I'd shoved in the seed maker. I noticed the fibre was ready that evening too. Got over a snack from that, and crafted some of it into 5 more scarecrows. I wanted to decrow as much of the town and island as possible this year and Project Crows be gone. I wanted to bring those to Ginger Island the next day, and brought Willy the Wiggly Worm as I passed him to get on the boat to grab the pirate's locket from him. The first couple of scarecrows today went to the jungle. I'm gonna need the fibre to grow here so I can get the mummified frog for the tent. Thought I'd better start working on the friendship with the kid, but swiftly changed my mind for the day when he poked at my arms. Do you mind? I see that's not changed in this timeline. My next 2 scarecrows went on the south beach just in case the crows were eating the artifact spots here, then I wanted to speak to the frog hoping that my crops had grown, but the scarecrows, crops and sprinklers had all been eaten in the past week. I was so confused, I was sure I protected this area. There's not much I can do about that right now, so I scampered off to clear the dig site and slingshotted a walnut out of the volcano tree. I did remember to return the pirate's locket to Birdie. I wasn't up for a story full of feelings and stuff though, so I took the reward walnuts and got out of there, also with the newfound knowledge on how to craft fairy dust. Even with those, I was still not even halfway to gaining entry to the walnut room. I managed to squeeze a few more out of the singing stone puzzle within a couple of attempts, then headed back to the valley, swiping some wild bait and seaweed from Willy's counter now that it was unattended. Before bed that night, I made sure to bring Marlon a roots platter, probably the easiest of his love gifts. Thank you to my mod May for pointing that out in the chat during the premiere of the first video. I thought his gifts were all going to be terrible, and whilst I was there, I sold off some spare weapons and rings. I harvested the year's first strawberries on day 121, some of which went into even more seeds, likely to be planted in the shed. We'll find out if I'm right on a future day, because this good luck day, I was itching for a Skull Caverns run. I was excited for the day's loot potential with the +7 luck from the aged Blue Moon wine, which I forgot to drink till floor 5. I should probably eat some spicy eel as well. Thanks to my tumble down this deep jump hole, it wasn't long after that I came across my first treasure floor. What's inside for our first of the year? Some cherry bombs. Useful, but not exciting. Some cranberry sauce a couple of hours later was absolutely worse, but hey, that's enough of a loot spoiler. I made my way down the floors, practicing my pickpocketing on the monsters there, and found Mr. Key waiting for me on floor 100 that evening. I was a little worried seeing him down here with the snakes again, but he seemed to say pretty much the same thing as the last encounter down here, almost word for word. I'm convinced he's just left a bot or a clone of himself here, because it was very ironic him telling me I have principles. I mean, I do, just not ones that everyone agrees with. It was time for my snake milk drinking challenge. Already knowing what I was in for, I downed it at an inhuman speed. Just as disgusting, but worth it for the health boost. I still had plenty of time for further spelunking, but instead of allowing myself to pass out down here, I wanted to get in the day's shoplift, so I exited from floor 139. Let's have a look at the end of day loot review. I mean, we did get almost 200 iridium ore, and a couple of prizzies, but nothing unique really. I did throw out a cowboy hat, but for a great luck day with a power of aged Blue Moon wine, I was kinda disappointed really. I rushed over to break into Marnie's hoping for an auto grabber that the caverns didn't grant me, but no, just a handful of hay, again. On day 122, I crafted a few more cheese presses. I had Olivia's special order which needs a bunch of cheese and wine, which I haven't been making much of up till now. Better get some more kegs going too, the wine will take the longest. I wanted to start that processing before tending to the day's shed garden harvest. This is in fact where the strawberry seeds are going, now that the spots were freed up from the quality crops panic from last winter. I asked Clint to get my axe back up to steel level for me, then I brought Vincent some grapes for his birthday to win some friendship. Still not enough for 10 hearts though. I passed the afternoon making ancient seeds and sorting out the various other machines on the farm until Robin knocked off work. I was a few seconds too early though, so I pretended I was there to take notes on the craftsmanship of her preserves jars. The steels were not worth that near miss though, just some acorns and a single piece of clay. Still, it was a convenient location to steal from on my way for an evening in the mines. I still had almost 150 dust sprites to slay for the burglar ring, so it's safe to say I was never going to get them all tonight. On day 123, I harvested some carrots and turned a few back into seeds just to replant something. Scarlett was working on Fairhaven Farm today, so I was feeling a forest walk to bring her a gift. I couldn't help having a nose at what the wizard was up to just outside his tower. He was just using some magical pesticide on his ancient fruit. Nothing too crazy, though I continued wandering through the tree-lacking forest, seeking out any trash cans for the chance of loot and binning XP. Then I made it to Scarlet just before lunchtime with some Grand-Pudding orange chicken to refuel her. Nothing for Andy today. I got all my geodes and mystery boxes open now that Clint has learned to multitask, excited to flick through a copy of the Book of Mysteries so I can find even more of those boxes. I had to sell off some of the minerals to make room for some of the rest of the box loot, but I was careful not to sell anything that needed donating. I still didn't get any useful museum rewards this time either. Then it was over to Ginger Island to add another scarecrow to the farm area and replant the 3 frog crops. I wasn't going to leave the island without clearing out the dig site where I found a few golden coconuts I was hoping for, and after disembarking from the boat, I grabbed a few treasure bobbers Willie left in the shop, which will mostly just be sold. That night, I realised I'd been sleeping on the craftable trash cans and recycling bins from the binning skill mod, not just for the extra freebies, but for the binning XP they give. And to make them even easier for me to claim each day, I placed all of them at the bus stop where I'm more likely to pass them. My steel axe was ready for collection on day 124, except it wasn't because Clint is out of the shop for the day. I stole from him for the inconvenience he caused. Some frozen geodes and iridium ore? Not bad. From the travelling cart today, I bought a bottle of wine so I have one less to make for Olivia's special order, and just before my return to the farm, I doubled back noticing the giant tree had been knocked down in a windstorm. I don't know what happened to the rest of the tree. The crows probably ate all of that fallen wood, but it gave me the idea to fix up the stump into a little house. It's going to take about 100 hardwood, and I don't have close to enough yet. I'll handle that later, prioritising another trip to Ginger Island to bring Leo a gift, and add some deluxe speed grow to the melon that I forgot to bring yesterday. I got the boat back and made a brief visit to the saloon. Definitely regret not loading up on gifts whilst it's busy like this on a Friday night, but I was mainly here to hand Emily an apricot she wrote to me about. Then I left, just to get caught digging in a hidden trash can by Demetrius. Thank you so much to this comment by the way, letting me know that Stardew Expanded adds extra hidden trash cans. I'd never have known. I'll show you some more of them in time as well, but you'll have to let me know if I've missed any by the end of the video. I'm sure I will have. Most of the outdoor crops were ready for harvest on day 125. I'd previously been saving my mixed seeds for fibre, but I decided to just go ahead and plant some of them in the freed up space. I needed the crops more than the fibre at the moment. The egg festival had rolled around again, and being just as quick as last year, I secured an easy win having hunted down 10 eggs. I wasn't going to let anyone else take that prize ticket, and since it's a festival day, the shopkeepers are all just staring at the walls, so I just stole a vegan cone from the ice cream stand before bed. My first rhubarb was ready on day 126. Definitely putting these into the seed maker to replant. I need more than 2 for shipping, cooking and spares. The travelling cart had an oil of garlic today. I bought it. It gave me an idea. I had to give Hayley a birthday gift and collect my steel axe before executing said idea, which was to take place up at the railroad. I was hoping the garlicky scent might repel the scary swamp monsters, but it did no such thing. Well, I suppose it did feel a little less busy, and I did make it all the way to the end this time. Thank goodness I remembered to bring some void mayo to bribe our goblin friend into moving out of my way. I retrieved that magic ink and used the warp room in the witch hut to make a quick escape to the wizard's basement. Returning that to him, I can now build the obelisks and the golden clock. I'm a long way off any of that right now though. Now that I was reunited with my axe, I chopped down the hardwood trees on the farm, as well as a few normal trees which can also drop some hardwood. That gave me enough to build the stump house in Cindersap. Maybe now someone will move in. I rushed through the shed harvest the following morning so I could get an early start to the first day of the desert festival. I first traded for some more spicy eel for the caverns and asked for my free cactus. If it's free, I'll take it. What's that supposed to mean? Then when Emily arrived at her cardboard box, I asked her for a new outfit. You might notice I wasn't wearing my usual clothes, and that's because I removed them so I could save the inventory space when I get a new one. What's Emily seeing in me today? Oh my god. Emily, why? A JoJo uniform? And what's that supposed to mean? I'm so offended. I ate my feelings in the form of a sour salad. I was feeling very sour indeed. Then salvaged my first few calico eggs from the trash on my way to the scholar. He hit me with some really easy questions, so I had no trouble walking away with a 50 calico egg prize. But I want more, and Skull Caverns is where I'll be finding them. Something fell off though. Probably something to do with this awful JoJo hat. That went in the bin. Things went a little bit better after I freed my noggin from the JoJo emblazoned monstrosity. I got a better pair of boots from a serpent who doesn't have any feet, and found some jump holes to help me on my quest to pass floor 30 for the Adventurers Guild challenge. That's another 50 calico eggs in the bag. I carried on through the caves to accumulate even more of the eggs whilst improving my egg rating. I'm obviously looking for loot as well, but I didn't pass out down here. I left from floor 101 at 11 PM, so I still had a bit of time for the other festival activities, like turning in my egg rating to Gil for another 200 eggs, and I got Gil's hat. I suppose now might be a good time for our end of day loot review. We were in there a good 12 in-game hours and scored a couple of hundred calico eggs down there. You saw the boots I swapped out earlier, but aside from the iridium, I didn't really get that much ore. Nothing to write home about this time. I wanted to show you that loot review first because I had to make room in my backpack for some purchases and trades, like this super meal from the travelling cart from the missing bundle, and a top up of desert totems. We got level 10 combat overnight. My profession will be brute for the extra damage. That means we can now access the mastery cave, but I'll check that out another day. It's not like it matters till I get enough XP for my first reward anyway. I had to get back to the desert. I broke my fast with another sour salad for the luck and defense buffs, and picked the high reward adventure guild challenge, which was to find 12 omni geodes. I wanted to try for an even higher egg rating today, though I got started in the caverns much earlier. Things were feeling better for this de-geodified run, even if I was lacking on bombs, though that being said, I didn't get my 12th geode till floor 61, much later than I thought. I called it a day after claiming the floor 100 treasure, which was just some crab cakes. But before turning in my egg rating, let's have a look at the end of day loot review. All-wise, we're no better off than yesterday. Like I said, I was low on bombs, but the main highlight of the day is the dwarf scroll in that first row. That's the last dwarf scroll I need for the translation guide. I don't know how I had the whole language wiped from my memory. I informed Gil of my new and improved egg rating of 35 and got another 200 eggs, but no new rewards. It's not even 9 PM, so I could have pushed for higher, but I wanted to catch the townies at their stores today, which were held by Sebastian and Evelyn. I could not resist the cookie wallpaper from Evelyn. Oh, and I did look for Sandy's store for an opportunity to shoplift, but the building has temporarily vanished from existence. For today's free outfit, I got dressed as a gnome. Much better. This one's kinda cute. I traded some more calico eggs for some mystery boxes, and before leaving the festival for the day, I yoinked a whole void eel from Demetrius without him noticing. That's a huge win. It's an ingredient for the Void Delight requested by the missing bundle. Leaving Skull Cabins early meant I also had time to shoplift from Pierre today, and I grabbed my new weekly special order, once again for the wizard to hunt for ghosts for their ectoplasm. On day 129, Clint caught me digging in the trash. That's none of his darn business, so I tried to pickpocket him a revenge, but he wasn't carrying anything. I got that last dwarf scroll donated so I could remind myself of the dwarvish language, then went to introduce myself to my new friend. I can't buy most of what's for sale here, nor can I shoplift since they don't ever leave, but I do still need to buy the crafting recipes, and the rare crow I'll come back for another day. I walked straight to the desert from there for the final day of the festival. I stole a regular old egg from Victor here. Was he hoping to pass these as calico eggs to spend at the festival? I kept this one, I need it for shipping. Then with Emily having set up a store for the day, I turned to Sandy for the day's free outfit. I had no words. This was adorable. And adorable is a look I could do within my forever lasting efforts to appear innocent. I traded some of my calico eggs with Emily for the prismatic shard, and grabbed the mystery boxes from the other egg trader ahead of my last Skull Caverns dive for this year's festival. Don't worry, there'll still be more later in the year. I kind of forgot to get my sour salad before heading in there, so we'll see how this goes. I just had to reach floor 30, which took me till the evening with my limited resources. I was well aware that I wouldn't be beating yesterday's egg rating, and left from floor 58 with just 19 today, but I did still get 50 calico eggs for my efforts. Shall we take a look at the loot? Not too much to review here. Sure, there's a prismatic shard in my backpack, but that's just the one we traded from Emily. The rusty spoon might seem like an odd choice to keep, but I actually still need to donate it to the museum. You can tell by the quantity of gems and ores that we were really low on bombs, and I was trying to avoid using my staircases unless totally necessary. Considering we've been caverning for 3 days in a row, I think this was to be expected. I had enough calico eggs to spend on a magic rock candy, and with the remaining 39, I spent as much as I could on a bit more coal and ore from Clint, and I mean a bit. We shoplifted more from him in a single day before, I'm sure. Speaking of shoplifting, I squeezed in a break into Pierre's and got 5 bouquets. That's now sorted for when I'm ready to date someone. Any guesses who yet? Having practiced my pickpocketing on a lot of the townies and monsters, I reached level 2 thieving, so now I can cook strawberries. Brilliant. To look at, I mean. I don't think I ever ended up trying one. On day 130, I set up a few more sprinklers in the shed garden ready for more ancient fruit, and headed out to have a look at the newly opened mastery cave. All the mining and combat we've been involved with at the desert meant we were already close to earning our first mastery level. Scarlet was conveniently nearby for a gift of wild honey. Then I got a few more farm chores done, which including tidying up the messy coop, incubating another dino egg, adding a few more tappers to the tree farm, and getting the ground floor of Grandpa's shed protected from crows. I'm planning to fill it with kegs. I tried to shoplift from Marnie again that evening, still after an auto grabber to handle that coop, but no, just found even more eggs which I'll absolutely be turning into mayo. On day 131, I got more potatoes planted for the farming XP before purchasing another rare seed from the travelling cart for fall. I filled out the sprinklers some more with some carrots I'd turned back into seeds, then I was off to hand out the next round of gifts at the museum. I had a gift for the museum itself, but almost forgot to donate it. When I came back in, I found Gunther looking flabbergasted at how Penny and the kids had left the place ransacked. Gunther seemed like an important figure in town, so I thought I'd better help him clean the place up. Plus, Susan's in the corner there and would overhear everything. All of that was just so I could donate a rusty spoon. I wanted to visit Susan after that, who must have sprinted to get home this fast from the library. She was already deep into struggling with her next DIY project. Now was my time to shine. I could put together a silly little dresser. Easy job. Susan was so impressed with my display of pure skill that she wanted to share some of her own secret crafting knowledge with me, so now casks, kegs and preserves jars will be cheaper to craft. I'm so glad I haven't already made hundreds of machines by now, so I can take full advantage of these new shortcuts. I took a train to Pondwood from there to bring Scarlet some more honey, and to raid her trash cans for some giftable meals. Then coming back through Pelican Town, I stole the next lot of fish from the community centre, pickpocketed nothing at all from Clint, and once that cooldown wore off, I somehow stole Lewis's shorts. I really hope these were a spare pair he was carrying. I still have full friendship with him, so I don't think he really noticed. That's enough peopling for today. I doused myself in Monster Musk to make sure they stay away, and hunted dust sprites for the evening, completing that Monster Slayer goal at midnight. Give me that burglar ring right now. It's going in place of the lucky ring till I get round to merging them. Whilst harvesting the garden shed the next morning, I reached a new level of understanding, my first mastery level. Before making haste to the cave, I stopped by the wizard's place to drop off the ectoplasm I obtained while smashing dust sprites yesterday. Then, as promised, my first mastery had to be the fishing one, so I could finally use a rod with bait and bobbers. This is going to help for the more challenging fish, not that I'm using it today. I gave Shane a pizza for his birthday that was probably better than whatever he had in the microwave. Then coming outside, I was checking their trash cans when I tripped and stumbled into Marnie's shed. She was in the middle of checking her cheese. This ended up being a happy accident because she taught me how to make cheese wheels. What does this mean for us exactly? More profit. My impromptu cheese making lesson delayed my trip to Ginger Island. I wanted to add more scarecrows to the farm area, and it was a good thing I showed up today. The weeds were creeping closer and closer to my precious 3 froggy crops. I added a couple of scarecrows to the gem bird area. I did forget to bring the gems, but I got the emerald from a bird near the island farm, which I didn't want stolen before I can come back and sort the rest. My next job was a volcano adventure. I really need more golden walnuts ASAP. It took me until dinner time to reach the halfway point, and now that I'm re-familiarised with the Dwarvish language, I could buy the island walk totem and ginger ale recipes. I only gathered a few more walnuts by the time I reached the 9th floor that night, and in the treasure chest there was another golden walnut and a phoenix ring, which I'll probably just sell to the Adventurers Guild. I eventually reached the summit when this red-haired fella materialised in front of me at the forge to congratulate me. He gave me a rundown on how the forge works, which I was already familiar with from the pre-time travel days. Once he finally left me alone, I claimed my prize Prezi and merged my lucky ring with the burglar ring, a loot goblin favourite. But annoyingly, I left the volcano just one walnut short of being able to rebuild the beach resort, so I've been carrying around those flute locks all day with me for no reason at all. Lewis was on my doorstep on day 133 in spite of the dreary weather to inform me that there'll be a community day at the community centre every 22nd of the month from now on. Why didn't he just mail me as usual? Anyway, the wizard was right behind him with some way more interesting news. He's been tasked with teaching me warp magic. I need to get to his tower for my lesson. I had to tend to the farm first, of course, and I couldn't help browsing the travelling cart on my way down there. I bought the goat's cheese wheel and a bottle of wine towards Olivia's special order, which I've been slowly chipping away at, as well as a spare truffle because at this point I might not even bother getting a pig. It no longer shocked me that the wizard got me to drink some undisclosed concoction. This one was quite a bit more intense, but I was then ready for my training. A quick demonstration and a little explanation were plenty for me to be able to give it a go. Nailed it first time and exceeded his expectations. I'll have a nexus of my own in the backwards, which is where I met him next. Right now, my nexus just has a big tree, but over time it will become a hub to teleport to various important locations, some near, some far. It was already looking more pretty and magical after channeling my mana there, and using a wizard potion, I created my first warp rune which will bring me to the wizard's basement. You'll see how this fills out over time. That landed me near my next stop for today's plans, which was to try fishing for the legend. I wasn't sure if there was going to be any more rainy days this season, so I really needed to get going on this now that I have my far improved rod. It only took a couple of hours to show up, and between the lobster bisque and trap bobbers, it was much less of a fight than I was expecting, and it came with some treasure, even if it was kind of useless. I passed by the Enchanted Grove again to check it out alone, and a few dewdrop berries had spawned. These give some amazing all-day buffs, so I'll be saving them for when the time is right. I used the warp to the wizard's basement to get back to the witch's hut without needing to navigate the big danger maze so I could fish for the void eel and the void salmon. I did have to enter the rest of the swamp for a couple of other fish and noticed the henchman staring at his house. I didn't mean to startle him, and I kind of forgot I needed to pay him a visit. He'd recently written me a letter of complaint that my Void Mayor had lost him his job. That's not my fault, but I'll help a goblin in need. He wanted to give the witch an offering to beg for his job back, and this was a tall order. Dozens of mushrooms and 50 swamp flowers? Some of this I can only find in this neck of the swamp, which crushed my hopes of wanting to forget this place even exists. For now, I focused on the fishing, catching a swamp crab whilst being harassed by the local wildlife, and then I caught the other unique water dweller here, the alligator, which also brought me a pearl. I guess I might as well grab some swamp flowers whilst I'm already out here, and after dropping all the fish and forage home, I had space to shoplift from PS for some rice and fruit saplings. Level 8 binning was a lovely surprise overnight, slightly better chances of some fun items, and we have a new cooking recipe with a +3 binning buff. Got startled by Lance on my doorstep on day 134. He made some flattering comments about the farm and left me with his schedule. Nice and direct. Now I know where to find him to earn his trust and friendship on each given day. I was back on the island for this next rainfall, first to clear the new week's weeds, ready for the frog to inspect all of my crops. He was happy with all 3 of them and handed over 15 walnuts for my efforts, so now I could restore the beach resort. This bar is another shopliftable location which you can't get banned from, and today I could grab a beer and a cranberry candy. I had more than enough walnuts left over to free this island trader, then having remembered to bring more gems with me, I hunted for today's gem bird, an aquamarine one in the north. That gave myself an easier time brute forcing my way through the remainder of this puzzle for another few walnuts. I had some more to collect in the newly opened southeast beach from the water, the ground, and the mermaid, and now that the gembird puzzle was dealt with, I could move those 2 scarecrows into my island house. Just got to remember to bring another bed at some point. Willie was in his shop when I took the boat back. It's time to bite the bullet and rebuy the copper pan. There's not very much I can do about this. I need to pan up a fossil at the dig site on a future day. On day 135, I brought Andy yesterday's beer for his birthday. Perfect timing for me to also hand a gift to Scarlet while she's working on his farm. On my trash rounds through town, I found another hidden one behind Clint's shop, and as I passed by Olivia's cellar to drop off her wine and cheese, I found her down there having a glass of wine from her collection and listening to some Gatoran music. Turns out her family's from there, and some of them are stuck there with the war without a way to let her know that they're okay. She shared some ring fruit wine with me, and I'm not really a wine person, but something told me I really should just force down a glass. Plus it's rare and expensive, so who am I to say no? Here's where she revealed that she's friends with Suki, the travelling merchant. Interesting. Olivia's friends with a smuggler, and bragging about the rare wares she's bought from her? Maybe there's more to her than I thought. I knocked back the whole glass of wine and left it on the shelf so I could drop off the goods she was after. I thought I could get away with using the nondescript wine, but it turns out I need to have made it myself, so I only had 12 of the 20 bottles I needed. Another batch of homemade wine would take far too long on its own, but thanks to the power of fairy dust, I could get the rest of the bottles ready in minutes. I moved all but one of the kegs into Grandpa's shed. The one left over is to let me know when the rest of the wine is ready without me having to walk in there, and after adding the remaining wine to Olivia's cellar, I became 80 grand richer. That was more than worth it. And I got another prize ticket which I claimed with the other 2 I've been neglecting at home for some mystery boxes, replacement fairy dust, and artifact troves. I was a bit too late to get Clint to open those things, so I nicked a couple of copper ore from him instead. I woke up to 50 cans of Joja Cola spilling out on my mailbox from Andy on day 136. I drink these pretty regularly for the little speed boost, and I think my main supply from last year was eaten by the crows, so I was pretty chuffed for the gift. I chopped down the backwood trees and refilled the various machines on the farm whilst waiting for the flower dance to begin. Do I particularly enjoy this festival? No, but I had to win some more friendship points and ask Victor to dance with me to give our friendship an extra boost. Clearly, my sticking out of the crowd is because I'm doing some sort of mouse dance whilst everyone is doing the flower dance. There were still a few hours left after dark for me to dig through everyone's trash cans, as well as pick up my free festival day ice creams from the stand, but coming home via the bus stop, I was shocked to see a super meal ready in one of the recycle bins. I didn't need to buy one from the travelling merchant after all. On day 137, I harvested my crops in the rain before filling my backpack with gifts. I dumped them all in a chest for later because I wanted to get my geodes and stuff opened first, and on my way out I couldn't help framing Pam using her unattended bus stop sign again. I got quite a lot of museum donations done in that sesh, which earned me a magic rock candy, and I took the farm totems too. Whilst dropping the rest of the stuff home, I set up a couple of scarecrows in my still empty greenhouse to guard the first 2 fruit saplings in there, one of which was a banana I just got from a golden coconut. I was then ready for my rest of day gift spree, starting with some gifts from myself from the trash cans in Pondwood, where I was visiting to drop off another jar of honey to Scarlet. Of all the gifts I handed out today, it was Penny's friendship that I finished, and then I found another hidden trash can behind Elliot's shack. Glad he couldn't hear me, because he didn't mention it when I went inside to hand him his gift. When I got to Krobus, I bought the few recipes they had. Still got a few hearts to go before they'll offer the Void Delight for the missing bundle, but what I could get my hands on today was the Star Drop. Ironic that they taste like freebies when this one cost 20 grand. Having already met the raccoon and helped him out, I found he had a wife to feed on day 138. I wasn't going to remember the specific goods they both craved, so I used the deluxe journal to make a list for myself. With the smart add option, they'll automatically complete when I've made the correct item. I bought a seafoam pudding from the travelling cart to prep for future challenging fish, which I won't be doing today. I got more gifts to get through, and it looks like Pierre's benefiting from Olivia's elegant reception on his birthday. I'm not much of a wine person. I was just there so people will associate my face with quality goods, especially the governor, but I wasn't going to answer this question. Nothing on those tables were Pierre's favourite fried calamari, but when I arrived at the store to hand over a plate, he'd already buggered off to Ginger Island. That stupid box on the counter prevents me shoplifting, so I stole a tea leaf from his wife's greenhouse and left. I'll wait until he's back in town. To keep myself busy till then, I chopped the stumps in the secret woods and took another look at Aurora Vineyard to see if there were any new developments. Not today, it seems. I was glad to see Pierre back in the valley that evening so I could stop carrying around this fishy dish. Being one of the town shopkeepers, this was not a birthday I could ignore, and after another free hazy sunrise at the saloon with Olivia, Pierre had removed the honesty box from his counter so I could finally pocket some goods. Stealing from him on his birthday just feels so right. I apparently sensed something had happened in West Cindersap the following morning at Aurora Vineyard. I was going to rush straight there, but opened the door to Leah wanting to give me this big chunk of wood. I can't seem to use or recycle this, so And then I got this envelope full of cash in the mail from Pierre, thanking me for being such a great customer and community contributor, which truly caught me off guard.
Oh no.
This absolute clown has no idea.
That's so funny.
It was a good thing all of that slowed me down from leaving the farm because I had a whole bunch of fun stuff to harvest in the shed garden, and I wanted to plant some extra shrub seeds because these salal berries are doing a lot for us. Also the few starfruit seeds I made. I have a feeling I'm gonna need these soon. I could then head out to see what was new at Aurora Vineyard. There's a new bundle plaque? It looks like it's supposed to be in Junimo language, but I couldn't make out any of the words. I'll go talk to the wizard about it, and as I made my way over, he teleported right in front of me just outside. I told him what I saw, then found something in my pocket. Something I didn't steal this time. We went inside to analyse it, but this wizard's skill had met his limits. He was useless here, but he could contact someone who could help. I'm not sure if the jump scare was really necessary, but this witch had a mischievous aura about her and that instantly earned my respect. Plus she could competently decipher the scroll and informed us that this childlike Junimo was requesting 200 starfruit. Surely, with an offering like that, the reward has to be super valuable, right? But considering I can only steal from Sandy on her birthday, and I'm only growing 3 starfruit right now, this is gonna take a long time. On the topic of forest magic, I thought I'd try finding my way through the Junimo woods again, but was surprised to find a Junimo at the entrance ready to lead the way. They handed me an ancient Junimo scroll, and led me to what they were hiding down there. There's a whole little Junimo village, and even better, that scroll was for me to create a warp rune here, so now I don't need to struggle my way through the maze. I got sent back to Cindersap after that, so I searched some trash cans on my way home, including a third one at Marnie's hidden behind her barn. Then up at my nexus, it was adorable to see some Junimos had taken up residence there. I wanted to take a gander at the Junimo village, and each of the huts is its own store with some rare, useful and valuable items. Shame I can't buy any of these, and you can't shoplift from here either, but Ember wouldn't steal from the Junimos anyway. Even she has her limits. The rest of my day was for handing out gifts again. I made it to Hayley shortly before she locked her door for the night, and found her struggling to open a pickle jar. Yes, now's the time for my next good deed. I had plenty of muscle power to show off from carrying all the loot. For my last stop of the night, I wanted to say hi to Marlon and ask him to make a warp rune near the guild. The item of choice was a green rupee, and together we built a makeshift bridge so I don't have to leap over the river every time. How did I thank Marlon? I pickpocketed a void pebble from him. That's a missing bundle item, wow. On day 140, I picked the last batch of veggies for the season, which were just some green beans. Having crafted some more dehydrators, the dried blueberries were ready for the raccoons, so I also added another preserves jar to make the hot pepper jelly, and used some fairy dust to get it done instantly. I brought the processed fruits to him and his wife, and in return I got the raccoon journal, so now I can find more free mix seeds. I did some more trades in the desert this time for some more staircases, as well as a couple more golden carrot seeds, and made sure to fish up a sandfish and a scorpion carp whilst I was there. I did also cut down a portion of the trees out here for crafting and the mastery XP, and replanted them all once I was pretty much out of energy. Alex was on his way home for Ginger Island by the time I was back in the valley, so I could give him a cauliflower in exchange for a prize ticket. From that, I just got another houseplant, but I was excited to see a Stardrop tea up for next time. All that wood chopping contributed to another 19 scarecrows. I hadn't thought about exactly where I wanted them yet, because I wanted to fit in a last minute shoplift from Marnie's to end the season. Still no luck on the auto grabber, all I got was hay. As is the norm for the first of a new season, I got some saved up seeds planted by my sprinklers. But now I just filled out 4 of them and picked the other 2 up because I hadn't previously considered that they contributed to my bills. Better sprinklers cost more, so I downgraded the one by my carrots to a quality sprinkler. I then started distributing some of my scarecrows and noticed this one tiny patch in the barn pen that wasn't protected. I counted myself lucky that my animals hadn't got pinched again, but it's sorted now. It was about time that I cleared out the coop again, and since I already dropped off some eggs to Gus's fridge last week, I picked up enough in here to complete the giant omelette special order. Got a bit more of the farm protected from the birds. We're up to 90 crows now, by the way. The population is still growing steadily, and to make use of the extra spots on that quality sprinkler, I turned a couple of last year's butternut squash into seeds. I could do with the gifts for Kent. I didn't get into town until the late afternoon to collect my price ticket and pick up a new special order. Andy wanted help doing up his cellar. Sounds simple enough. After claiming my Star Drop tea from the prize machine, I brought Krobus a gift and browsed Pierre's counter in the hopes of finding more seeds. None today, but I did get some saplings to sell and some sugar for cooking later. What I did get was another garbage hat from this trash can. Still keeping the mouse look for a while now though. I didn't wait a single night to get the crimson fish off my list, then took a different route home via Cindersap Forest so I could place another scarecrow there. I think I was planning to place a lot more out there, but then I realised I should probably make sure the farm is pretty much fully covered first. In some unbelievable luck, the crop fairy visited that night. While I would have been happier if she actually covered more of my crops and not just the sunflowers that I planted for the sake of it, but on the bright side, we got an extra profit boost overnight for some strawberry wine I sold amongst other things. Waking up the next morning, I replaced the sunflowers with a few hop starters and even more sunflowers. In today's mail, I got a whole mini fridge from Gus as a part of the thank you for the eggs, and a notice of my tax bill. We had 91,000 gold deducted overnight, and I just wanted to move on from losing over half of my money, so I visited Fairhaven Farm with a gift for Andy and the materials for his preserves jars. I was happy to be paid for the easy task, but the real score of the morning was stealing a frog egg from Vincent before I even had the combat mastery unlocked. I can't equip these yet, so grabbing one of these was a shock to say the least. The latest prize ticket won me a treasure chest, then I was off to steal from Robin while she'd be at the exercise class, but she was off at the island instead. I tried her counter anyway, expecting to be blocked by the box, but hers wasn't quite as secure as Pierre's, so I successfully made away with a decent amount of hardwood. Thought it would be good to say hi to Susan and Skylar whilst I was up this way. Were they aware of the crow just hanging out on Susan there? It was too busy napping to notice me, but Scarlett gave it a good scare standing up to greet me. While Susan popped inside to make some lemonade, we had a little chat about the farming life, and I think I can say both in this timeline and the past one, I've enjoyed having some creative freedom with my farm. Scarlett's been dreaming of a farm of her own one day, and maybe in the future someday we might be able to help with that. Anyway, I risked my life a wee bit foraging in the swamp and used a farm totem to escape once I had enough resources. I couldn't be bothered to find my way to the henchman's hut, so I used my nexus to make my life a little bit easier in dropping off the offerings for the witch. No payment for this one, obviously. I guess we'll see the outcome in time, but I did manage to get some more gold off Andy that night, who was requesting a frozen tear, apparently to go under his pillow. There was a goblin on my doorstep on day 143. He came to thank me for the forage, but it wasn't enough for him to get his job back. He's got to come up with an alternative, but in the meantime I can visit him at his hut via a new land bridge from the witch's place. He's friendable now. I refreshed the pale ale in the shed and harvested everything from the garden upstairs before bringing what I'd saved at home for the missing bundle. Now all I need is that Void Delight or 10 batteries. I wasn't sure which I'd get first. I'd be trying for both, but I wish I came in here more sooner. There's an iridium trash can which will be gone when we complete the bundle. Andy asked me to pay him a visit, but I found him out in the, well, I was gonna say forest, but it's not really much of a forest now, is it? Turns out, he tried to steal the farm from Grandpa and I before I arrived, but then he told me I was doing a good job of things over there. How does he know? Has he just been inviting himself over or something? He got all sappy on me for a moment, but eventually brought me to his basement as promised to show what my materials went towards. Now there's a token of gratitude I can do something with. Andy's secret strawberry jam recipe, which somehow made the strawberries themselves 25% more valuable. Glad I've got some going in my shed garden now. Victor was after some grapes to snack on at the beach, but he'll have to go thirsty because I stole his bottle of milk, and I got a replacement bunch of grapes from this nearby trash can. I got some key seasoning outside the saloon which I was about to enter to bring Gus a gift when I saw that he's off at the island resort today. I rushed on over to get the tropical curry recipe. I was due a visit to the island farm anyway, having forgotten to clear away the new week's weeds, even if I'm not growing much over here right now. I still placed some scarecrows in prep for the days that I do end up filling this place out though, then felt like doing some dig site digging where I found another copy of the Jack Nimble book for the extra mastery XP, as well as a prehistoric scapula the museum could do with. I still need to finish off the binning skill, so I crafted a few more recycling machines to process all the trash I'm accumulating. I regret not keeping up with these machines better because they do contribute to the binning levels. And don't worry, I did remember to shoplift that night from Pierre's for some saplings and some seeds. Day 144 was Jazz's birthday. An ancient doll for her collection wasn't quite enough to finish the friendship, and I wasn't willing to spend a whole Star Drop tea on her either. My birthday put me in gifting mode for the day. I made a lot of progress but didn't complete any this time, and having found out Abigail lost a necklace she'd stolen from Caroline, I rescued it from the bathhouse fountain to give back to her so she wouldn't get caught. Of course I had to steal some goodies from her family's shop in return, but I felt a sense of duty to assist with her thieving ways. Good thing the crows hadn't got to it first. On day 145, I slightly expanded my keg and preserve jar collection to process all the berries I'm growing. I chopped farm trees to restock on the wood from that whilst trying to keep up with refilling my machines in between. And when I checked on the coop, I found another new dino hatched, so I named this one Lucasade to go with Gatorade. I managed to get even more recycling machines set up by the evening, as well as placing the last tappers I needed in the tree farm. Then for tonight's deals, I was off to Pierre's once again for a small variety of farming goods, plus an extra melon seed from his hidden trash can behind the store. With the green rain on day 146 came a record amount of weeds. I used the wet weather to help me get some basic sprinklers set back up out there. I wanted to save the better ones for the greenhouse or Ginger Island, but these spaces on the farm were so I could plant the mixed seeds I was harvesting from tidying up all the weeds. But I had also turned a load of melons I'd saved back into seeds to expand my crops even further. A load of trees had suddenly risen up all over town, so I chopped them down for the extra wood before the crows get to them, taking full advantage of all these extra materials under the guise of voluntary town upkeep. That took up most of my day, but I had a quick shoplift break at PS for some rice. On day 147, I took a trip to Pondwood to raid the trash cans and bring Scarlett her birthday gifts of some honey to pair well with the Stardrop tea. Those sweetened her up for her third gift of a bouquet. Let me know if you guessed who we were dating this time. A freight train passed right after my journey back to the valley, so I scooped up the magma geodes that fell out, and after leaving the morning's loot at home, I wanted to pop into the forest when I noticed Andy wandering off in this weather to West Indisap. I don't know why, but I got the feeling that I should follow him. He stopped outside the abandoned farm to tell me about the previous occupants. Several of the region's farmers all went bankrupt, except Andy, whose saving grace was his knowledge about the local forage. Was not impressed with him ranting about the hat mouse and the wizard, so I left to browse the travelling cart's wares. Not gonna say no to another starfruit seed. Everyone counts, no matter the cost, when it comes to that absurd starfruit bundle. I planted it in the greenhouse with some deluxe speed grow, and the others in the shed will be turned back into seeds to join the ones in the greenhouse when they're ready. For this evening, I was focused on adding more pineapples and ancient seeds to the shed garden. Then I broke into Pierre's again, delighted to find even a single deluxe speed grow with the saplings I stole. I had some gifts to hand out the following day. The main one was for Gus's birthday, but he, for some reason, didn't go to Pierre's that morning. The rain perhaps? I'll visit him when the saloon's open, which means I have time to go to Pondwood first for a top up on trash meals, and of course to bring Scarlett some more honey. Then before handing Gus his birthday gift, I watched the townies through the window first whilst they enjoyed the giant omelette. I just had to check they were still only saying good things about me. I gotta make sure that Gus actually deserves this orange. But with that, his friendship is now complete. I bought the other cooking recipes I still needed, then I could go on with the rest of my gift spree. I found the 3 starfruit had grown when I got home. Those became 6 more seeds for the greenhouse. And for my last gift of the day, the henchman got some void mayo. But this is when I found out that I can't pickpocket him. Not that I'd actually want to. I just wanted to test it. Oh, and I added a couple of scarecrows to my nexus to stop the crows eating the dewdrop berries. I said hello to Krobus on day 149 and accidentally bumped into them. They dropped a monster musk, which I shoved in my pockets before they could notice. Finders keepers. I was off to the island today, but got stuck on the pier for a while with Willy bragging about his latest catch. A crimson fish? I already caught one of those. I thought there's only meant to be one. Are the legends lying, or is this a very fancy red herring? I eventually escaped all the fish talk and stole some berries from the resort bar for a little extra gold. Breaking all the mussel rocks, I got a snake vertebrae, as well as another golden walnut, and I nearly missed this artifact spot containing such a variety of loot. I read the foraging book there and then, before heading over to the fossil tent where I could complete the snake display for another 3 walnuts and a mango sapling. I unfortunately did have to do some fishing on my own this day. Not only did the island have a variety of new fish for the collection, I also had Willy's tropical fish special order to complete, and I had golden walnuts to find. The most difficult ocean catch of the day had to be the shark. The fight against this absolute unit took almost 2.5 incredibly tense real-life minutes, and you get the pleasure of seeing the whole thing condensed into a matter of seconds. This one's 1500 gold, so it's actually worth it, especially smoked. Given all the new fish added by Stardew Valley EXPANDED, I ended up giving up line fishing for the day before 9 PM. My backpack was so full, and I wanted to get the farm obelisk built. I even had to throw away the baby lunaloos to make room for the free island warp totem. I made use of it early the next morning, armed with some limefish bait this time, and my bait maker. I still caught my first sea sponge with it, but the targeted bait helped me make quicker work of the last couple of limefish catches. I moved on to the dig site river next for the discus. I wanted to be here to keep an eye out for panning spots since I still need the fossilized tail, which didn't show up by the time I caught my 5 discus. I kept my focus on the weekly quest for now, and fished for the stingrays, which thankfully didn't take all that long to catch. That left me plenty of time that afternoon to try and pan for the fossilized tail again. I didn't find it yet, but that kept me occupied whilst waiting for the pirates to dock in the cove. I was there to play darts for walnuts, easily winning all 3 games, with my first one of the evening being a perfect game. That finally earned me enough walnuts to regain access to the walnut room. I was a little nervous about how Mr. Key would react coming face to face again, and honestly, I think this was even more awkward, him pretending like this was the first time I've done this. Not even acknowledging any of the shenanigans when we know he knows. I didn't think I had 50 love gifts saved up, so I picked the hungry challenge for my first key quest, which will still get me enough gems for our main goal in here, the key to the town. Of course, I also tried and failed to pickpocket Mr. Key, and to access this trash can, I'll have to continue my grind to level 10 binning. On day 151, I added a whole gold sturgeon to the luau pot to impress the governor and the town once again, squeezing in another batch of wine after the festival. Then on day 152, I bought another truffle from the travelling cart, still reluctant to buy a pig for some reason. I'd also brought with me some supplies for the raccoons. I don't know why they think those eggs are mushrooms, but I found it suspicious that I got a raccoon hat in return, so I binned the evidence. Between the recent fishing and farming activities, I was ready for my next mastery. I agonised over the decision for a while, but ultimately the loot goblin within won this one, and I picked the foraging mastery so I can unlock golden mystery boxes. That does come with the ability to make mystic tree seeds, which I planted without delay. It only felt right to then deforest the rest of the farm in the mountain area. I need the wood, and I was hoping for more from Robin, but she only left me a maple seed today. I found the dwarf waiting for me when I got back to the farm. Drat. I could have stole from him whilst he was here, but he asked me to pay him a visit tomorrow for some sort of proposition. Tomorrow arrived swiftly. I had a bunch of chores to take care of first on the farm, as well as Alex's birthday, and found another pair of shorts in Lewis's trash on my way for a quick hello to Krobus to max the friendship. I'd been working towards this so I could purchase the Void Delight recipe. I also needed Clint services so I could get hold of the fossilized skull from the golden coconuts. Surprised to find 2 of them in there, and I thought I might as well get the rest of my geodes and stuff open for the museum. I was pleased to get 1 new donation, but I still wanted some sort of refund, so I pickpocketed him and got a golden goose egg? Excuse me? That's a thing? It's a new expanded item, and this is how I found out there's a way to own geese in the mod. I'm a long way off that for now, so I'll be hoarding this precious egg in case I need it for something. I came home to cook up the Void Delight to bring to the missing bundle, but before donating it, I got told off by the Junimo for searching in the trash can one last time. It's a bittersweet goodbye. Completing the bundle? Satisfying, but now I won't have the iridium trash can here. I cheered myself up a bit by collecting an iridium sprinkler from the ticket machine, then finally got round to visiting the dwarf to hear about this proposition. Apparently my farm has a blocked entrance to a cave leading directly to the desert. He could clear it for me for the hefty price of 36 diamonds. I don't know how long it will take me to pay him, but I'm in. I had some artisan goods to deal with before bed, and I was glad I remembered to shoplift that night. Not for the duck eggs I got from Marnie, but because it meant I remembered to dumpster dive in this area, and not only did I score a couple of extra eggs, I got yet another garbage hat. Is the valley trying to tell me something? The movie theatre got repaired overnight, not that I could buy any tickets. Then on day 154, Marlon came over to request my presence at the Adventurers Guild. I'll get to him, at some point. I had an abundance of crops to harvest, and another 5 rare seeds to buy from Suki. Then would you believe it, I got another garbage hat from the exact same trash can as last night. What is going on? I didn't pay it much more thought. I just wanted to get some more kegs and jars set up in the shed so we can really get going on all the money I'll need to make. Especially now we've got a growing supply of ancient fruit. This wasn't enough though. I'm still trying to turn them all into seeds, planning to plant these on the island farm. I made my appearance at the guild later that afternoon to find out what Marlon was after. He told me Lance has an outpost in the Highlands, which I can access via Marlon's boat if I gather him a plethora of monster parts. I wasn't worried about this request. I had a good amount of them at home. I was going to get started on the missing pieces immediately, but thought better of it without any monster musk. So I stole some more seeds and saplings from Pierre, then suddenly realised it's Sunday night, and I completely forgot about the week's key quest. I guess this one wasn't meant to be. To at least partly make up for that fail, I brought Clint a topaz he requested so I could wipe my tears with a prize ticket. On day 155, Kent wrote to me asking for a starfruit for his wife. The answer's no. At least not for a long time. I was due a trip to Ginger Island for the new week to clear the weeds before the takeover, and I rearranged my scarecrows more neatly so I can begin truly utilising this farming space for mass ancient fruit production. For this week's key quest, I picked up the prismatic grange to avoid the pain of extra fishing, and to avoid a repeat of last week's failure, I threw some colourful goodies together and got back on that boat. I even brought my bed with me now that I know it's not going to get eaten, then dropped off my rainbow of stuff so I could obtain that key to the town once and for all. I fished whilst hunting for the fossils at the dig site for the rest of the day, continuing this mission into day 156, which was off to an awesome start with his mummified frog from the single weed. That's another walnut down from Professor Snail. And as for the dig site pieces, I did pan up the tail that morning, with the spine finding its way to me shortly after. Those were the last 2 pieces for the biggest of the displays, which means 6 more walnuts for me, and a sapling which I'll likely end up selling. So now, all that remains is the mummified bat. This calls for a volcano day. I had to eat any fish I just caught because I kind of forgot to bring any food, and whilst I did seek out a couple of treasure chests and golden walnuts, none of the loot was really noteworthy. The double soul serpent rings were pretty insulting, and I didn't find the mummified bat this time. I was glad to make it through this place alive though, because I could add a couple of rubies to my sword to boost its damage. Despite my still overflowing backpack, I remained tunnel visioned on the fossil hunt and raced straight back to the volcano the following morning. I can't say it wasn't a struggle, but my efforts became worth it when I found the bat on the 3rd floor. I exited the volcano via the 5th floor shortcut so I could present my final find to Professor Snail. He's exactly the same in this timeline, still taking undeserved partial credit for my hard work. All he did was get stuck in a cave, but I could get out of there now with the ostrich incubator recipe. After all that grinding, I was ready to return to the valley. I'd been missing my garbage rummaging, and found a second trash catalogue at the bus stop again. I also wanted to make sure I gave Sam a birthday gift in time this year, given we missed out on this boost last year. I was also glad to have checked on the greenhouse that evening because all the starfruit was ready, and it wasn't going to replant itself. Got over double the seeds back, let's hope they keep multiplying like this. I just wish Pierre stocked them, though I can't exactly complain with a haul like this. A couple of the persimmon trees in particular will go nicely in the greenhouse spots. Once I was ready for bed, I realised there was no bed here. I'd left it at the island. Thank goodness I had a spare pearl to trade for an upgrade of a bed from the desert, plus I got some extra desert totems and golden carrots because why not? It was time for more wine on day 158. Not drinking it, I mean making it, and selling it, obviously. The big melon harvest was upon us. Well, it's a big one for this playthrough at least. Then I crafted a couple of extra trash cans, still chipping away at this darn binning skill. I have definitely gotten better at collecting these all daily by this point. I still had a bit more crafting to do in the form of 50 quality fertilizer for Susan. I deposited it into a chest in her house to complete her special order. Then I popped a pondwood from there for my usual trash can searching and honey gifting. Couldn't stay long though, I had several other stops to make today. I brought an octopus to Pierre for his request, then picked the lock to the movie theatre, making sure the ticket seller didn't see me so I could bring Claire a gift now that she's around again. Martin will be here as well now that they've both got lovely new jobs, but he's not here quite as often, and my iridium trash can was downgraded to a gold one. It's better than nothing I guess, though there did used to be an extra hidden one behind this building which is gone now, and I'm not talking about the copper one we can see. I stank up the mines for the rest of the day with plans to go hunting with Monster Musk. This was mostly for Marlon's boat quest, but the diamonds were a welcome bonus, and I hit the Bat Monster Slayer goal. Marlon must have known I was down here, because he was waiting at the top of the ladder to receive all the monster drops. Kinda annoying that he thought the one spare bug meat was a gift, but thankfully no harm was done to our friendship. By this point I knew to expect him on my doorstep the next morning. I need to meet him at the dock by the Adventurer Guild when I'm ready. I had a lot on my to-do list before I could go. Some of the usual farm stuff, followed by a completely legal and definitely paid for visit to Claire with a gift. I don't ever end up watching the movies, I don't have time for that. I was then excited to see that Scarlett was vacationing on the island today. I brought her refreshments in the form of goat's milk, then proposed to her on the beach. Her dream of having or sharing a farm will come true in a matter of days. With the day's grand plans completed, I was ready to hop on the other boat with Marlon, and after an incredibly long and dull journey, we made it to the highlands where Lance was posted. We stepped inside to talk about his research. He was interested in some seeds that can drop from the monsters in this area. That sounded valuable and I wanted in. Looks like we'll have some more monster hunting ahead of us. I wasn't feeling that today, but it was an evening in the saloon for me with some gifts. I completed Kent's friendship and brought Demetrius a pufferfish he asked for by mail. 1,000 gold wasn't enough of a reward to me, so I swiped a seahorse from his pockets. He seems to be in the habit of carrying fish around with him, it seems. With Pierre at the saloon too, I could stuff a load of freebies from his store into my backpack, happy to gain some extra seeds which I still have time to grow this season. Despite mostly getting nothing when I tried to steal directly from villagers, I've at least been attempting it often enough to reach level 3 thieving, increasing my chances of success. I sped through the shed chores on day 160 so I can make haste to the trout derby. Things were going to be different this year with my better rod and rainbow trout bait. I had a lucky lunch and occupied one of my tackle slots with a treasure bobber because I wanted some extra loot if I was going to enjoy a whole day of fishing. Once my fishing tackles gave up that evening, I did too. I handed in my 11 golden tags for this variety of prizes. There are only 10 prizes available, so they'll just keep repeating the cycle. I felt I got everything I needed here, so spoiler alert, I won't be back. I just wanted to prove I could do it. I wound down from all that fishing by making more ancient fruit seeds, and in between doing that, I broke into the cinema after closing time to see if I could shoplift from there. Given that we never actually get any of the snacks when we do pay, the answer is no, but it was still funny seeing the dialogue come up as if someone was there. I wanted to shoplift from Clint instead, but there is a weird little quirk that if you're carrying the lockpicks, it still makes you use them even if you have the key to the town, so just bear that in mind if you use the lockpick mod. After all of that, Clint was somehow still manning his counter in his sleep, so I settled for some ice cream sundaes from the stand nearby. Not much of note happened the morning of day 161 till I headed to the desert for some totems and staircases. I dropped those home, then sailed to the highlands to begin gathering these mysterious seeds for Lance. I was a bit concerned when he told me I'd be sent a crate of life elixirs to help me. Why is he okay risking my life? If he's such a great adventurer, why not just give me the seeds to grow? I couldn't help but notice that there wasn't a tree in sight. Clearly the crows have been feasting around here. I did bring some scarecrows with me, but the monsters weren't giving me a second to be able to place them. It was also interesting to see some slime eggs I could bring home to sell, and as I made my way through some of the passageways along the far edges, I realised I didn't bring my axe to be able to clear the stumps and logs. I suddenly hit a swarm of monsters, so I made my escape via farm totem. I'll come back another day with the right tools and maybe some more food. Then up to doing for something I'm a little bit more comfortable with, shoplifting from Pierre. And what a lovely varied haul we got today. I did also manage to get a few slime and stalk seeds from my trip to the highlands, so I brought them to the island farm to plant them where they won't be affected by the season, along with all of those ancient fruit seeds. I still got the other 2 types of seed to find in the islands, hopefully next time. Day 162 was the big wedding. I completely forgot I had the custom wedding mod and that I'd set this as the location, so this was a lovely surprise. Like, there's actually vows in this, and there are a few locations you get to choose from in the config, so I highly recommend checking this one out. It's in the description with all the other mods. The only thing that was disappointing was Marnie no longer dancing at the end, or maybe she's jealous that I'm getting married at all. I think I actually slept at the island last night because I had some Monday errands there, so it was kind of annoying to be back on the farm again, but it did mean I could get the dwarf's birthday gifts out of the way. He got a rabbit's foot and a star drop tea, so I can mostly ignore him going forward, unless I need something. I stole Willie's breakfast and some junk from his counter on my way back to the island to clear the new week's weeds and pick up a new key quest, only to find the same ones on the board as last time. I picked the fish one. I don't want to fish, but I'd rather do that than hand over another 600 of my precious items. I'm not fishing on my wedding day though. I'd rather go back to the highlands for some loot, but my mind kind of wandered elsewhere whilst I began clearing the stumps, so a monster took me out whilst I was distracted. No. Lance rescued me and brought me back to his place, and he said he didn't ask for anything in return, but I did find a number of items missing from my backpack, and I've decided that unless it's absolutely essential, I'm gonna try avoid using Marlon's item retrieval service, even if it is half the price for me. I do wish I could steal back the items, but that's not a thing. I chugged some life elixir to fix me up and popped back home to snack on some raw summer squashes to restore my energy, then zipped right back over there to get my revenge. I'm a stubborn one, okay? I watched my back much better this time, and made it to the top of the winding path where I was attacked by this tough, ancient-looking dino. It took a good couple of in-game hours to defeat the beast, who dropped a plethora of loot. I had to make room in my backpack for all of it, but amongst it all was an extra precious treasure chest which I'll keep for now in case I need an emergency gift. The regular treasure chest I can sell, but there was also a key. We'll have to find out what that opens up another day. On day 163, I began the extended family key quest and brought some seafoam pudding to the mountain lake to try and get the worst one over first, the Legend 2, which didn't actually give me all that much trouble today. I reeled in Miss Angler en route to the sewers where I caught my first radioactive bass, but it took till almost evening time for the radioactive carp to show up. At least it came with a golden fishing chest, which was just a dress spinner. Yikes. The son of Crimson Fish was my next target, but with my backpack full of fish and loot, I had to run home to make some space real quick so I could take on the Glacierfish Jr. just outside Andy's place. That thankfully showed up on my first cast, and there's another key quest complete. Sadly, my fishing day was not over. I also had the Biome Balance special order to do, so I stayed up late hanging out at the town river, and whilst I didn't finish the quest tonight, I had a little progress boost from a few challenge bait that I'd fished up. Given the hour, I thought it would be a perfect day to shoplift from Gus, with Emily having just left the saloon too, but for some reason, it was still giving me the option of buying stuff here? Not sure what that deal is, so I defaulted to my most frequent victim, Pierre. Plenty for the taking over there. On day 164, I realised I'd not had a peek at Scarlet's spouse room yet. There's nothing we can interact with in here, but it's very cute. I love it. I'm not sure anything can happen to her belongings, but just in case, I set up a scarecrow covering it. After tending to the shed harvest, I got right back to river fishing so I could banish that quest from my journal that afternoon. I scored my 5th garbage hat on my way home, where it was time for the next batch of strawberry wine in the shed. I came back to town a little later on to bring Gus an amethyst shard he asked for, and to claim the 3 prize tickets I'd saved up for a pig painting, some mega bombs, and some mystery boxes. I didn't notice Clint wasn't at the saloon earlier, so I tried to shoplift from him only to find he was trying to work from his bed again. Marnie's it is for today, just for some little eggs. Between the wine, smoked fish, and some other stuff I sold, I brought in over 76 grand. I think this is the most so far in a night. Then, on day 165, I delivered some pickles and juice to the raccoons who thanked me with a top up of fairy dust which I'll likely end up using towards their future requests. Back on the farm, I crafted 5 more dehydrators now that I was stockpiling various fruits, then I was off for another delivery to Pierre, this time with a rainbow trout. Let's be honest, I was just in it for the prize ticket, which funnily enough also gave me a fairy dust. I had an afternoon planned in the highlands so I could access another blocked off area. In this little zone, amongst the ruins, are some bouncy mushrooms which have a new type of seed for lance. Just one more area left to search in the highlands, but I'd forgotten something important, so I had to warp home briefly to bring the golden key. I tried and succeeded not to get overrun whilst I cleared a path through this new zone, which led to a giant cave. It was cool to see the odd random mineral on the ground, though I'll be keeping my eye out for valuable or donatable ones. My cave exploration brought me to the smaller room containing a caged dwarf. There was a lock, and I have a key. The correct key. Our new little friend is now free, and they'll find a way to repay me apparently. We'll soon find out what that entails, but for now, I could get back on with exploring these monster-ridden caves. Following a hidden path by the water, I found a few mystic stones I could mine. Sadly, not a single prizzy in sight from them. The bright side is that I came home that night with all the monster crop seeds I needed. I was not done with the highlands just yet, returning on day 166 in the gloomy weather where I found the new dwarf set up a shop in one of the cliff faces. That's how we're repaying me? By selling me stuff? I can't even buy any of this, nor can I shoplift here. I've been scammed. Moving right along, I made my way to the mushroomy area so I could hunt the green bouncy mushrooms which only come out in the rain. They drop green mushrooms when slain, and I need one for shipping. That's all I really came for. I got out of there to find most of my starfruit had matured in the greenhouse. Those 14 fruit got turned into 27 more seeds. We're expanding these pretty nicely. The weather wasn't much better on Ginger Island, where I brought a banana to the gorilla and paced around awaiting my payment of golden walnuts. Leo then got a perfect duck feather and a Stardrop tea for his birthday for a huge boost in friendship, and I asked the parrot for my next walnut clue while I was there, which pointed me towards a volcano. I got all my monster crop seeds planted on the island farm to reclaim some backpack space so I could take the parrot's advice. I got the Parrot Express back in service so I could get over there a little quicker, given it was a pretty late start for a volcano walnut hunt, but thankfully I found all 3 I was looking for by floor 5 in a single evening. On day 167, I dug up a persimmon sapling on the home farm which added to the collection of them in the greenhouse. I lockpicked my way into the theatre just to bring Martin some ice cream before at long last setting up a couple of scarecrows in the mine entrance so I could have a chest up here. It's probably a good idea to keep my lockpicks up here to avoid Scarlet potentially finding them at home. I mined the afternoon away as I was pretty low on iron, and whilst some of that was smelting, I made the effort to go all the way back to Ginger Island just to bring Leo another duck feather. His friendship isn't quite done yet, and the gift week resets tomorrow, so I should get another small boost overnight from having gifted him twice this week. Today's iron mining was so that I could make more recycling bins and trash cans. Yep, still very much working on that binning level. I never anticipated it taking this long to max it out, but that's my fault for pretty much ignoring these extra sources of XP for pretty much the whole of last year. My last day of this year's summer began with an indoor harvest in the garden shed. It was here that I reached my next mastery level. I won't be claiming it today though, I think I forgot. I bought some fairy seeds from the travelling cart in prep for fall, and I was glad to see that Robin was open and at her counter today because it was time to ask for my next house upgrade. Some more iron mining is how I occupied my time to the start of the Moonlight Jelly Festival, and Clint even left his door unlocked for me to steal some stuff on my way over. I'll take a free furnace and some artifact troves, thanks. Just had to keep my finds safely packed away so they wouldn't be discovered whilst we all watched the jellyfish from the pier to mark the end of another season. I set up quite a few of my stored sprinklers on day 169 because I had a lot of seeds ready for planting this fall. It took me much of the daylight hours to get that done, at which point I was ready to leave the farm to pick my next mastery. I went for mining this time. I was off to town via Sophia's place where I found Scarlet treating this vat of grapes like her personal step machine. Sophia asked if she could also borrow my feet, so I guess that one of the future batches of her wine will have me as an ingredient too. It better raise the value. I clearly put my all into this task for some reason. I wanted to get my breath back out by Shearwater Bridge, when my recharge time was rudely interrupted by Camilla. Instead of simply going away like I hoped, she said a load of gibberish, then the water started meowing. A new type of fish. Camilla is just out to cause me pain. I respect it. Once I felt recovered, both physically and mentally, I stopped by PS to steal some more seeds. All that was left for me were a few artichokes. Then I picked a new special order for the week, and Marlon's one obviously piqued my curiosity. I had so many questions, but the only one I'll get an answer for is the list of what he's after, and it's a whole bunch of bombs. For tonight though, my crafting materials were designated to upgrading my furnaces to heavy ones for the improved efficiency. On day 170, I woke up a whopping 300 grand worse off from the bills and taxes. I wish this was some sort of nightmare, but it wasn't. I'm gonna have to have words with Lewis about the absurdity of this figure. I wanted to take my mind off that or the trip to Ginger Island, but on my way through town to get the boat, I got stuck talking to Evelyn for a while. She was saying nice things about my grandpa, and I couldn't tell if he either fooled the town as well as I aspired to, or if he was genuinely a friend to Evelyn and George. I did think it might have been the latter, and I suppose it makes sense as to why there's something within me that doesn't let me pickpocket from either of them. I escaped the prolonged socialising to get another 80 ancient seeds planted on the island farm. I also picked out a new key quest for the week, and traded my walnuts for extra key gems so I can make a start on buying the crafting recipes here. I'd also brought a couple of scarecrows for this area to allow some trees to grow. Then coming back out to the beach, I brought Leo to the pier to meet Willie and Linus. I was involved with convincing Leo to move to the valley where there are other kids to make friends with, and if he's in the valley more often, it'll be easier for me to track him down with gifts to max his friendship. My last task for the day was to apply the master enchantment to my fishing rod ready for the more difficult fish. I wanted to get back to the valley to rummage through all the trash cans, even buying a ticket to Pondwood with how awesome theirs have been, but I found Scarlett there too checking the bulletin board. We were chatting about how she likes grabbing little odd jobs over here when a neighbour's dog got loose. Couldn't help but chuckle at the chase I witnessed. Coming back into town, I took the opportunity whilst Pierre was staring off into the river to steal from his person and got a free price catalogue. UO Info Suite already does this power for me, so I'm gonna sell it. My trash tour very much paid off today. Level 9 binning finally. Better chances for better loot, and now we can craft advanced recycling machines. I'll show you how those work soon. Day 171 and the house extension was complete. Of course it doesn't come with scarecrows pre-installed, so the 2 kids' beds that are usually here have already been crowed. I got 3 scarecrows down to protect any future belongings before heading outside to craft my first few better recycling machines. They'll require 3 pieces of trash instead of 1, and they take a lot more time to process, but look at all the awesome resources we can get. The jars and kegs were ready for a new batch of goods, and this week I tried to begin a new habit of crafting extra kegs each time the wine's done so each shipment can get bigger and bigger over time. This week I've added 12 more kegs. I was hoping to raid Pierre's hidden trash can, but I only noticed that Pierre was hidden back there himself as I approached the corner. I had no idea he produced pumpkin cider, and despite not being much of a drinker, I was absolutely going to indulge in a free taste because I could see how much it pained Pierre to offer it to me. The booze must have really gotten to me because I proceeded to fish at Shearwater Bridge. No, that was already in my plans. I need to catch my first kitty fish, as well as the new Stardew Expanded legendary fish, the horrifically challenging wolf snapper. And not to waste the remaining buff from the fish stew, it took my whole evening to handle the stonefish, the ice pip, and the lava eel in the mines. Day 172 was spent in Skull Caverns for this great luck day with a magic rock candy and aged blue moon wine to boost me through the invasion. I wasn't going to miss another mining related key quest. I took the early skill book as a good sign for the day ahead. I found several treasure floors on my way down to floor 100, which did take me till 10:30 at night to find, but I won't spoil all the loot just yet, other than the fact that I just disposed of the red cowboy hat. Can't quite remember why, but I didn't feel like passing out in the caverns, so I left from floor 110 just after midnight. Let's have a look at our end of day loot review. So today was my first day to get a hold of radioactive ore, but I gotta say, I was hoping to come out with more than 37 of them. The best of the treasure chests I found today contained a few quality sprinklers, an auto petter, and a crystallarium. Clearly, I thought the melon seeds were worth bringing home too. Just one prismatic shard this run, but I can't complain at the rest of the ores and gems I got. On day 173, I worked on my delayed shed garden harvest. It's only a day late, but Skull Caverns took priority yesterday, and there were some crops waiting in the outdoor field too. That auto petter got a home in the barn. Then once the farm chores were done, I brought the variety of bombs to the Adventurers Guild for Marlon's special order, and claimed my payment of 8 grand. It's been a good few days since I've remembered to shoplift. I wanted to take advantage of Pierre usually leaving the store early on a Friday night to go to the saloon, but he was still there today. Not only that, but Elliot stuck around browsing the shelves even later. He stands a tile closer to the counter than Pierre usually does, so I decided to stay hidden till the shop floor was completely clear. And my reward for all that patience? Just a few cranberry seeds. However, I did also go home with 5 more iridium bars from the prize ticket machine. My first radioactive bars had finished smelting when I got home, which meant I could ship one and make my first few heavy tappers to upgrade the ones on the fir trees. I'd recently found out I was going to need a lot of fir wax from these for the new premium coupon barn from Stardew Valley EXPANDED, and with just 3 trees which take 11 days to process with a normal tapper, I had to speed things up somehow. I also found out I was just a few diamonds away from paying the dwarf for the desert tunnel, so I used a couple of fairy dust on my crystallariums to end my wait, and before going to bed, I made sure to deliver the 3 dozen diamonds to the dwarf so he can get to work. The witch dropped by with another void egg gift overnight. How lovely of her. Then on day 174, I moved my crab pots from the farm to the beach area as I need some of the other fish down here for cooking. Glad I checked the gold trash can whilst I was over this way. I found a void ghost pendant here. We won't be asking Krobus to move in, so I'll be shipping it for the 4.5 grand. I was up to the mines from there for a bit of bug slaying. Found myself low on bug meat, and whilst I was on that task, I couldn't help slaying some flying skulls to see some of the extra loot from them. I got a new pair of baggy pants from one of them. I like how these move, so I'll be living in these from now on. Most of that bug meat was for the raccoons, along with 3 topaz. I got a whole jungle fish tank for doing that, which I wasn't all that thrilled about, but I placed it in my house anyway. There was a bit of a commotion as I stepped out on day 175. That means our desert cave is now complete. Before allowing myself to get distracted by that, I had some starfruit to harvest, turn back into seeds, and replant in the greenhouse. Then I made my way through, which was a much shorter walk than I thought it would be. That being said, the cave does come out by the galaxy sword pillars, so to get to the trader it's actually kind of a trek, but it is much cheaper than the desert obelisk, so who am I to complain, even if I was a bit sweaty by the time I got to where I needed to be. It was the perfect day to use that cave for the first time because I needed to be here for the staircase trade, and I remembered to bring some gold bars for a couple more golden carrot seeds. My sweating wasn't over yet. I ended up sticking around out here past sunset, chopping and replanting all the trees for an extra 1.5 stacks of wood. Yaz was long closed when I got back to town, a perfect chance to nick some seeds and saplings from him. Day 176 was Claire's birthday. I cleared my trash cans at the bus stop whilst waiting for her to arrive for work, but unlike when she'd go to the Joja Mark, she doesn't walk to work from here, she simply teleports. I brought Clint my axe for upgrade on my way to break into the theatre. I wasn't going to miss the birthday friendship boost, because that's her friendship complete. I shoplifted from Marnie's while she was out of the store for the day, and got a load more milk I can turn into cheese. Then it was back to the farm to begin working on my next special order, a fairy garden for Sophia. She needs 50 fairy seeds and I don't have any right now, barely any roses either, so I popped the few I had in the seed maker. Obviously this isn't going to be enough, but I do already have a few growing on the farm I can turn into seeds later. That's the part of the request I'm most worried about, the fairy stones I've been saving up and the fairy dust I can handle. Had to get on my island visit for the new week, and brought Alex a gift whilst he was there. Leo got one too, and that's another friendship done with. Those were just some convenient wins. I was ready here to pick out my new key quest, and I guess we're going with Skull Cabins again because I'm not giving away another 600 items, they're mine. I also grabbed my next couple of key gem crafting recipes, as well as a deconstructor in case I need it. Then out on my beach, I dug up a pearl and a walnut hinted by a journal scrap. I call it a reward for remembering to clear the new weeds on the day of the week they tend to sprout. It was a nice surprise to find my first void root and slime berries were done on this farm. Just gotta wait for the other 2 monster crops now for Lance. I had loads of stuff to harvest on day 177. A bounty of 4 crops outdoors, and an abundance of berries and ancient fruits in the shed garden. I got drenched hanging around my seed makers for a couple of hours and turning my ancient fruit into more seeds. Then passed by my bus stop bins where clearly someone's had a really bad batch of cookies. I needed to take the minecarts to the Adventurers Guild where Marlon was inspecting my handiwork from all those bumps. Can't say how well they'll perform whilst waterlogged, but that's not my problem. The real customer arrived shortly after to receive the crate of explosives, and apparently my work could rival Beck's, whoever that is. Anyway, with that sorted, Marlon brought me inside to show me an order ledger of decorations. Okay, do I look like the decorating type, Marlon? I can't even buy these! The only thing that made the trip up here worthwhile was that Lance was around for me to give him a gift, but the next batch of wine being ready in the shed could cheer me up, especially with the prospect of adding another 15 kegs for the next batch. But for today, I opted to make some pale ale. I had a lot of hops sitting around. Yes was my shoplift target of the evening. I'm probably going to come here a fair bit whilst I'm still short on fairy seeds, which he didn't have any of today. On day 178, I wanted to get Clint to open some geodes and stuff, and since I got to his place a little early, I couldn't help stealing from him whilst he was working outdoors. Now I have some extra bits. I left and pretended to enter the store for the first time that morning to collect my gold axe, which I immediately handed back to him for the iridium upgrade, and then unleashed all the loot into my backpack. It was the golden mystery boxes I was most excited about today. I always love getting books for the mastery XP boosts, but from the geodes, I could donate 3 more museum pieces. But really, one of the main reasons for today's mass loot opening was to add to my stockpiles of seeds and deluxe speed grow. The only ones I didn't store were the pumpkins. The artichokes could make way for those. When I reloaded my crab pots with bait for the day, I found another ghost void pendant in the beach trash. Then I made another brief stop at the quarry to smash a few iron nodes so that Clint could inspect the ore. I wanted to reclaim some cash from him considering how much I spent here this morning. To round off my day with some non-Clint related tasks, I brought PS some sashimi and Demetrius a red snapper. There's a little bit more extra gold. My pickles and pale ale were done the next morning, and I'll be going back to doing wine in the kegs. I crafted 4 more iridium sprinklers to bring to the island so I could plant the 122 ancient seeds I've been accumulating. This is going to be the key to our future profits, and I could harvest the monster mushrooms for Lance that day. Just one more crop we're waiting on now. I passed back through the resort where I stole a seahorse from Pam whilst on my way to the treehouse to ask the parrot for my next walnut clue. Still got a couple stuck in the mussel rocks, but there weren't any today. Not much else to report this day, just refilled my crab pots, and I think I forgot to shoplift. On day 180, I found a starfruit for sale at the travelling cart. Napped that right up to turn into seeds later. It was convenient that Lewis was home for his walleye delivery because he had a prize ticket for me which I could redeem right away, even if it was just another houseplant. I brought some deluxe speed grow to the island to shave off a few days growing time for the monster fruit, and I think I was on autopilot when I left the island because I just bought another boat ticket shortly after. I wanted to make sure I brought Lance a gift whilst he was there. I then returned to the valley for real to tend to the next starfruit harvest and replanting. Just gotta keep chipping away at the starfruit expansion. It was nighttime when I'd finished that, so Robin was at the saloon for me to bring her a cactus fruit. Then I decided to steal from Pierre today, and I was glad to have picked here because he had 5 fairy seeds amongst the pile of goodies. Some of the others I planted had bloomed the following morning. Those all went in the seed maker, but I knew they wouldn't be enough. To not have to replant as many of those for another batch, I cycled through some mixed flower seeds to grow some more. They all got deluxe speed grow, and thankfully I didn't have to use any of my seed maker seeds. The mixed ones covered the empty spots. The shed harvest was my next task of the day, and whilst I got some more ancient seeds going, I could pick up my iridium axe from Clint. Let's hope this one doesn't get eaten. I also had the coop floor to tidy up. I really need an auto grabber in here. Then, in running around with some gifts that evening, I forgot to shoplift. Day 182 began with an outdoor harvest. I don't know what it is, but there's something about harvesting fall crops that just hits different than any other season. Is that just me? I was still panicking about this fairy garden quest, so I did end up planting the 24 fairy seeds I'd saved up with some deluxe speed grow. In addition to the ones we planted yesterday, that should near guarantee that we finish it in time. The raccoons got their next supply package of some mussels and a smoked chub, and in hoping for something useful, I got a red cabbage because I haven't shipped one yet. I do have a couple in the chest, but I didn't have many, so I kept hold of this one too for now. I was excited to see that I could now trade my boring ordinary mystery boxes to golden ones. Now you just know the next thing I did was open them all, and the highlights from these were the Auto Petter, Deluxe Speed Grow, and Fishing XP book, which I read before even walking out the door. As for the Auto Petter, Ember still doesn't know how to take care of a wife, so it's going by Scarlet's spouse room. I was happy with the variety of seeds on offer at PS today, and I didn't go home without refilling my crab pots. I have been doing this pretty frequently recently. On day 183, I gave my Iridium Axe a proper test drive on the desert trees. This felt great. We melted through all of them in not that much time at all really. Sandy was outside for her birthday by the time I'd finished the tree chopping so I could go on with my yearly shoplift. I was hoping for starfruit and beet seeds, but all I got was some rhubarb and cactus fruits. The cactus seeds went straight in the bin. Then I replanted all of my trees in Scarecrow's reach before heading back to town to pick up a new special order. I picked island ingredients because I do prefer the taro version, but I wasn't sure at this point if I'd be able to do it within the next 2 weeks. On day 184, I found out I had 66 taro tubers stored up and plenty of bone frags to trade for the rest, so Project Taro is go. Except it's the Stardew Valley Fair today, so I had to craft an island totem, and I'm very much on a time crunch. Of course, I brought a few new scarecrows to guard the riverbanks, and speeding through all the planting, I got it done by the late morning, so I made it to the festival in time with some of my most prized belongings for the Grange display. I wasn't surprised to claim my victory for the 2nd year running, then checking the prize shop, there was a new recipe that wasn't here last year. I spun the wheel to top up my total to 4,000 tokens so I could learn that recipe, with the rest going into another prize ticket. Being a festival day, I stole a couple of ice cream sundaes from the stand in town. Then on day 185, I had some crops and pickles to see to in the big shed, as well as a decently sized starfruit harvest in the greenhouse. I crafted a couple more seed makers to cut down on the waiting around for them, and the result of today's starfruit replanting was another 55 seeds. This kind of pace made the 200 starfruit goal feel far more reachable before the end of the year. I felt today was a good day to begin incorporating ancient fruit wine into my production, slowly phasing out the cheaper stuff. I still had loads of ancient seeds to bring to Ginger Island for planting, and on my way to the boat, I swooped past Kent and swiped a bottle of Blue Moon wine, one of our best deals yet. It is just +2 luck for 2 minutes, so it's not even close to as good as the age stuff, so this bottle will go to Harvey as a free love gift. There were even more ancient fruit to harvest on the island farm, and the monster fruit was finally ready. Hadn't had that in today. It took me into the night time to set up the new sprinklers for all the new ancient seeds I wanted to plant, and I only remembered after that to pick up a new key quest for the week. Even though I picked the love gifts one, I'll let you know now, I didn't end up doing it, and I really wasn't up for doing keys crop either. On day 186, I turned yesterday's island ancient fruit back into seeds to bring back over there, but before heading to the island, I did a little trash tour through town and recovered a whole aged Blue Moon wine from Sophia's place. I'm not letting that go to waste. That was part of a long route to the mastery cave where I picked out my 4th mastery. This time, I went for the farming one for the iridium scythe, which can harvest crops, when I remembered to use it. Made it to Ginger Island that afternoon. Lance was also visiting today, so I could hand over one of each of the monster crops for his research, along with an extra mushroom as a love gift. I got my next 66 ancient seeds planted and checked the nearby muscle nose for walnuts. No luck there today. Visiting the dig site, I found it full of resources. I had to make sure to clear all those out so more can regenerate. To keep working on raising my profits, I worked late in the shed replacing some of my pineapples, coffee plants and blueberries with salal berries. I've been enjoying dehydrating them. The cranberries I picked the next morning are pretty good for that too. I wanted to spend this good luck day in the mines for ores and coals towards more legs. I wanted to spend this good luck day in the mines for ores and coals towards more kegs, but I also needed a little extra stone to craft the statue of blessings that I've been hoarding my resources for. I had to get that down on the farm ASAP, and my first blessing was a prismatic butterfly. Those go away in the evening, so I had to prioritise searching for it, and luckily it was just out by the bus stop. I had a momentary panic when my screen changed to the next part of the road, but thankfully, when I turned back around, the butterfly was reachable, and it blessed me with an extra 8 grand. I don't know how Pierre didn't notice, but I managed to steal 3 entire baguettes directly from his pockets without him noticing. I'm not going to ask how those were stored, but if he's ever selling warm baguettes, maybe think twice before you buy them. And checking all the trash cans in town, I found Lewis had tracked out another pair of pants again. I guess that's a part of the perk of being the mayor, an unlimited supply of your favourite underwear. I added those to the grown collection back at home, then added another 20 kegs to the shed ready for whenever the next batch of wine is ready. I wanted to get back to my ore gathering after all those distractions, but not before stealing from Pierre's counter this time. Turns out I can access the counter just fine even when Elliot's standing that one tile closer. An evening of iron mining resulted in over 160 extra ores. Then waking up on day 188, I found Lance on my doorstep thanking me for the monster crops. He was excited about his studies, and as a thank you, he left me a gift in a chest in his house, that right now is not quite enough to entice me into a trip to the Highlands. Gonna be honest, I don't remember if I ever collected it this year. It's the last day of the gifting week, so that's what topped my list today. I finished Alex's friendship, brought Caroline her requested catfish, and stole a daffodil from her. I broke into the theatre to bring Martin some ice cream, and donated a skeletal hand to the museum, which unlocked a new reward I simply wasn't interested in. The crab pots finally had a lobster for me so that I could bring it to Gus for his meal request, then I didn't forget a gift for the henchman, obviously another jar of void mayo. Now for some gifts for myself from Pierre's, which included a couple of fairy seeds I can put towards Sophia's fairy garden, and once I put all that away, I made a bone meal to get myself some free fertilizers from the extra bone artifacts I've been saving. Much of day 189 was spent working on expanding the starfruit crop again, as well as the next shed harvest, which includes making more ancient fruit seeds. I took the tunnel to the desert in the evening to trade for staircases, and dig up the yellow strange doll which I didn't realise I was hiding under a tree I planted. Then I brought a couple of spare weapons to Marlon to sell. On day 190, the next lot of fairy roses are grown, and popping all of those into the seed maker, I got back 36 seeds. There are still loads yet to bloom in the crop field. We should have this order in the bag easily. There wasn't much else I really wanted to grow this season, so I occupied those spots with fiber seeds to hold the fertilizer. The raccoons were due a delivery for their growing family, and this time they rewarded me with a book of stars. Reading this boosted my mastery by about 1000 XP, but as you can see, we still have a long way to go on this last level. I was off to the island with another lot of ancient seeds when I noticed Sebastian on the pier. He's usually daydreaming out here, so I thought I could pickpocket him, but he heard me approach, so I pretended I wanted to hang out with him for a minute before going on my way, and shoplifted from Willy whilst he was out. I had more ancient seeds than sprinkler spots free on the island farm. I could squeeze in 3 more iridium sprinklers, so I set myself a reminder to make them. With Mr. Key still asking for a few hundred of my items, I'll be hoping to complete the Hungry Challenge instead this week. I don't know why I then bothered to harvest the island crops that were ready, because I carried them all straight into the volcano right after. I did stop off at the forge first, so it could have been that I was only planning to go there to merge a vampire ring with an iridium band, and to enchant my sword looking for Crusader, which I got first time, but then I didn't have enough cinder shards to add another gem to my sword, so then I guess it makes sense that I suddenly decided on a volcano run for more? Despite struggling with a backpack full of fruit, it was still worth it. I found my first animal cracker. I ended up turning around from the second floor once I had just enough cinder shards to forge the topaz onto my sword for the extra defense. On day 191 we have the next major fall crop harvest, and of course it's the fairy roses we've been waiting for. With those, I had more than enough supplies for Sophia's special order. My first animal cracker went to my rabbit so I can hope for more loved gifts, then like last time, I planted fiber seeds in the deluxe speed grow spots to save the fertilizer. I was not expecting to be judged by Charlie the chicken while searching the trash on my way to shoplift some duck eggs from Marnie. Then I dropped off the fairy garden supplies at Sophia's farm, with all that work rewarding me with 35 grand. Over on a rainy ginger island, I harvested the remaining monster fruit and brought the 3 iridium sprinklers with me so I could finish filling this place with ancient crops. Caroline's tarot was done as well. I got some walnuts amongst that harvest, and all that tarot got shipped so that quest will be completed overnight. I don't remember when I got this beet, but instead of it sitting in my chest, I popped it into the seed maker so I can work on multiplying those in the greenhouse for shipping, cooking, and the club card unlock. Then I got some steps in around town and the swamp handing out gifts. When I got to the henchman with his void mayo, he whipped me up a nighttime snack of a void mayo sandwich. He borderline force-fed me, and it might be one of his favourites, but the void mayo is quite simply not for human consumption. Sometimes it hurts to be a don't knock it till you try it kind of person. Thankfully, there was a batch of wine waiting in the shed for refresh to distract me from the lingering aftertaste. So with that, the tarot, and a few other farming products, we made a total of 81,000 gold. On day 192, I gathered up the last cranberries of the season before chopping down the crowfree trees in Cindersat Forest and all around the valley. I visited Pondwood that evening for the trash finds and to help Scarlett with the project she'd been doing over here. I came back to town to collect my 4 prize tickets, getting a star drop tea, a treasure chest, an iridium sprinkler, and another freaking houseplant, then shoplifted from Marnie on my way home for over a dozen eggs. Scarlett had just finished making dinner when I walked through the door, which was awesome. I was starving. I told her I loved whatever it was she made, but she did not approve of the speed at which I dined. Not sure how to feel about her reaction, but then she did ask to take a road trip together to a goat ranch tomorrow if the weather's good. The sun would in fact be shining the next morning, but I'm not heading on that trip today. I dealt with my harvests, both outdoors and in the shed. Then on this amazing luck day, it was Skull Caverns calling out to me. I had Key's Hungry Challenge to complete, and a good luck day it was, with all the jump holes and treasure to be found. I finished the rock crab monster slayer goal on my way down, and it was actually a jump hole that brought me to floor 100 that evening so I could receive my key gems. With loads of time left to continue my spelunking, I passed out down on floor 136 for the night. I bet you know what's next. So, my floor 100 treasure was yet another autopetter, and I bet that's the best rhyme you've ever heard. I got a whole 4 prismatic shards. Kinda gutted we didn't also have the 4 precious stones key quest too, and with 267 iridium ore, I should be set on iridium for a good while, or at some emergency funds. I'll be looking forward to finding out what's in those 13 golden mystery boxes, but as you can see, luck was truly on our side yesterday because I came home still with 54 staircases. I only used 22 all day. I realised that day that I hadn't progressed Project Crosby Gone nearly as much as I was hoping for where we are in the year, and it was now the fibre I was short on, so I cleared a huge patch of land just to plant a couple of hundred seeds which will be ready in winter. I was glad not to have missed out on Susan's incredible pumpkin harvest, all thanks to my homemade fertiliser, and she showed her gratitude by sharing her patented beer and ale making methods, which increases their value, but then she roped me into helping with the harvest. That all made me late to meet Sophia at her parents' place for the road trip. We're borrowing their truck. I was a little nervous, but it seems that Scarlett is a competent driver, so we arrived at Go Goat Farm in one piece. She introduced me to all of her goat friends and fed them some trees, and when she was ready to go home, I searched the trash cans while she was saying goodbye to her parents again. They throw away so much perfectly good food here. I still had time for a travelling cart visit after the trip, and this was the first time I found a Scarlett portrait for sale. Kinda creepy that she's selling a picture of my wife for 30 grand, but I took it anyway. The next starfruit harvest replanting occupied my night, with a quick break to steal some milk from Marnie's. And with the amount of starfruit seeds I gained tonight, I had to go to bed before I could even get the additional sprinklers down. I wanted to get straight on with that the following morning, but I stepped into the greenhouse to heartbreak. I forgot to add one more scarecrow to the bottom left, and so the crows had a very bougie feast overnight of a couple of sprinklers and all the seeds and speed grow that they were holding. Not ideal, but with that morning's smaller harvest, I was able to nearly restore their numbers, and the extra speed grow spots I left I'm saving for some future beats. I got some summit foraging in before the season ends, then after climbing back down the mountain, Robin had vacated her workplace so I could steal some mystic tree seeds and driftwood. A pleasing haul from here for once. I then stared into space by the bus stop waiting for the Spirit Sea Festival to begin, and this time I had more than enough funds to cover the rare crow I missed out on last year. Thankfully, the altered layout of this maze didn't hold me up too much. It wasn't long before I could claim my prize ticket at the end, and as for that rare crow, I added it to the others in the greenhouse, just to be sure my starfruit was sufficiently guarded this time. I grabbed any remaining crops in the farm to start the last day of fall this year, and made another few homemade trash cans as part of my binning skill grind, but also because I was going through a lot more trash with the advanced recycling machines. Yesterday's prize ticket rewarded me with a bunch of explosives, then I crossed the bridge to steal some ice creams from the stands, and successfully caught Martin in town to give him one without needing a lockpick to get to him. The henchman got some void mayo for the new gift week too, but that was it for gifts today. I visited the raccoons to trade some of my spare mystic syrup for the fairy dust, so I could give my fur wax supply a little boost. I'm really regretting not planting and tapping more of these, because we need so many for the new buildings. I was, however, now short on stone, so I spent the rest of the day clearing out the quarry by hand. I would bring bombs, but I don't want to destroy the scarecrows. Might as well chop the trees here too. On day 197, I planted a load of powder melons and winter forage because that's all I can grow for crops out here. A little shed harvest could make up for it, as well as some ancient fruit and slime berries on the island farm. I was over here to pick a new key quest for the week. Pleased to find both options were Skull Cabin related, so I picked the invasion again for its higher reward. I brought my golden mystery boxes to Clint whilst he was at home, but far too many of them just contained the worst mystery boxes. I could reread the Book of Mysteries for an XP boost though, and I guess I got a few extra powder melons to plant. On day 198, I was once again horrified by my taxes and utilities draining an exorbitant amount of money from my account. 550 grand! That's like 2/3 of my balance. Clearly the words I had with Lewis last month didn't do the job. I'll have to keep trying to bully him into some sort of arrangement. Thankfully, the wine was ready to go, so I could begin recovering those funds, and there'll be an extra 20 bottles of the good stuff next week too. I chose today to handle some of my new fishing catches and scored a few extra strawberry seeds from Andy's trash on my way to the fishing spot just below his farm. I got payback on the glacier fish, catching up on my first cast now that I'm much better geared for it. Then it was onwards to the sewers to catch the mutant carp, followed by the bug lair for the slime jack, the water grub, and lastly the snatcher worm, which took so long to show up. Like it was dark by the time I left the sewers. That did mean that Pierre was done with work, but being winter, there were no seeds, just a sapling and some oil. He didn't even have anything extra for me in his pockets. Having used some of the cheaper fruits in the last lot of wine, I only got 10% back of my tax bill. Then on day 199, I set off another batch of pickles before rushing off to Skull Caverns for this decent luck day. I completed the Mummy Monster Slayer goal pretty early in the day with the power of my Crusader enchanted sword, and I couldn't wait till the loot review to tell you that I got an auto grabber from my first treasure floor of the day. I've been waiting for this moment for so long. I can finally stop picking up the eggs by hand. I reached floor 100 that evening via jump hole again, reached my 5th mastery level on the next floor, finished off the Serpent Slayer goal around midnight, and passed out on floor 137. That felt like a really productive caverning sesh. Let's see how that's reflected in our next morning's loot review. Okay, first of all, that's 7 prismatic shards there. Wow. You know about the auto grabber, and I got a galaxy soul from a slime. But then, on the other hand, there must not have been anything better to replace the summer forage seeds or the miners trees. I am happy with the amount of ores and gems I got though. I plopped my new auto grabber in the coop and scooped up the eggs and wool from the floor one last time, thank goodness. Then there was once again some starfruit waiting for me in the greenhouse. The beets were done too. Getting the seeds back took so long that I was partway through replanting when I realised the time. I wanted to make it to Robin's today to ask her to build me a premium barn. This is going in a temporary spot for now. I didn't realise that this will be a whole new building rather than an upgrade, and I don't really want a lot of barn animals, so I decided that this will eventually replace my other barn. I just wanted it to unlock the new animal that comes with this. Got some scarecrows ready for it too. Then getting back to the starfruit, I had enough seeds to expand into nearly 4 new quality sprinklers. On day 201 I had a lion. I was tired. We've been pretty non-stop. I need a rest, okay? Well, that would be a good part of storytelling, wouldn't it? But let's be honest, that's not what happened.
Oh no, I forgot to pause my game.
Even if much later in the day than I was expecting, rolling out of bed that afternoon to a shed harvest is always a lovely way to start my day. And I got to visit the Mastery Cave for the last time to claim my 5th and final mastery in combat. Clearly Grandpa is proud of me sticking to my principles. I will not be beaten by Mr. Key. I could now release my little frog friend I stole from Vincent a while back, though I did forget to shoplift today. On day 202, I brought George a winter route to get a hold of another prize ticket, but Harvey was out to shake my mood, telling me off for trying to salvage stuff from the trash. I tried to pickpocket him in revenge, but he caught me. I played it off like a joke, and there seemed to be no harm done to the friendship. I got 5 mystery boxes from my prize ticket. I stored a couple at home, but brought 3 to the raccoons to trade for a golden one to add to my other 13. Before getting those opened, I wanted to donate an artifact to Gunther, but I thought I should stop for a chat with Martin whilst I still have a long way to go with his friendship. I inquired about his Saturday reading habits, and he told me he'd been poking around some genealogy books, just in case he might find some interesting information about his family since he's adopted. I'm glad the few ice creams I've given him have been working. He thanked me for listening and helping him feel at home here in the valley. I feel like I barely talked to him, but sure. I got that donation done, in the form of a gift I mean, then got those golden boxes open. The winner here was definitely the deluxe speed grow, and the normal boxes I traded up to better ones, and returned to Clint for a second round of farmy loot. I was hoping for more deluxe speed grow, which I didn't get more of, but I was still satisfied with the 20 I did get, which all went into the starfruit. With Robin on my farm, I headed to a store to shoplift some sap and a tapper that I don't have a place for. Then while checking the bathhouse trash, Linus was just exiting the building. He noticed, but instead of the usual telling off, he was happy to see me with a hobby in common. On day 203, I could harvest the unwatered fibre outdoors, as well as the next load of starfruit in the greenhouse. As you can imagine, that meant spending the whole morning by the seed makers, but today, I officially had more than enough seeds to finish filling the place with more starfruit. Not long now. After purchasing some caviar from the travelling cart to ship, I shoplifted some junk from Robin's place and set up a whole load of scarecrows around that area thanks to this morning's fibre. That included the bathhouse and giving Susan's place a bit of extra protection. Then with my last few, I added them to Cindersap Forest. On day 204, the beets had grown again. I harvested a handful of starfruit too, so I could make room for a few more beets. I had some extra starfruit seeds left over from yesterday to go in any remaining spots, and by that point, it was time to head to the Festival of Ice. I don't usually check the shops in the second year, but once again, I'm glad I did, because there was a new cooking recipe here, the chocolate truffle bar. My need to show the townies up outweighed my distaste for fishing, plus I got a prize ticket out of my win, but Grandpa Shed was the real win of the day. All of the wine and pickles were ready. I also had some preserved fruit for a late night delivery to the raccoons. The Stardrop tea was a very welcome gift, and with all the ancient fruit wine I shipped along with a few of the farm goodies, I made over 250 grand in a single night. Day 205 I could harvest the forage and powder melons. The forage I turned back into seeds, which went in the ground with the 16 powder melon seeds I'd acquired through mystery boxes. My premium barn was now done. I was so excited to take my first peek inside. They come equipped with an auto grabber, auto petter, and a heater, except Robin doesn't include scarecrows, so those convenient extra items are gone. I added my own scarecrows to prevent any further theft, then moved my animals and equipment over there so I could use the wizard's podium to move the premium barn to its permanent spot, except I forgot to move the outdoor scarecrows out the way. I got the old barn demolished, then made a quick trip home to move the scarecrow out of the way so I could go back to the wizards to reposition the new barn. Much better. With all of that, I wasn't ready till that afternoon to deal with the shed garden harvest before departing to town to collect my ticket prize from yesterday, and to hide behind Clint's till he left for the saloon so I could steal some geodes and coal from him. To finish off my day, more starfruit replanting. I made haste to the island farm the following day. I was a couple of days late for the new week's weeds, so I found one of my crops had been destroyed whilst collecting the ancient fruit harvest. I also needed a new key quest. I wasn't sure I wanted to do another Skull Caverns one, believe it or not, so I picked Keys Cuisine for a change. With my pretty limited resources, this would be very challenging indeed. Any key gems I already had got spent on the hopper recipe and the deluxe fertilizer recipe, then I was ready to head back into the valley to get a whole bunch of geodes open. I didn't get any new minerals, but I already had a couple of stored artifacts with me to donate. I was closing in on completing the artifact collection, so to help that along, I brought a treasure totem to use just outside the Adventurers Guild and dug up the boomerang I was hoping for. After donating that, I still have some minerals to go later. I was back to my scarecrow project that evening, adding another 12 of them to Cindersap Forest. I rewarded myself with a trash walk all over town, and some pickpocketing, though I did forget to shoplift today. On day 207, I got to work on the Keys Cuisine quest, whilst also trying to tick off as many first-time cookings as possible for perfection. I had to set off a new batch of pickles in the middle of that, and despite spending most of my day in the kitchen, and making some decent headway on the cooking collection, there were some ingredients that I hadn't been producing at home. This calls for a visit to BS to hopefully steal some more. Not that he had any today. Got about a third of the way through the Keys Cuisine quest that day, and continued with it a bit the next morning. I do just mean a bit though. I had a birthday gift to deliver to Gunther which finished that friendship, and I was not missing out on the first day of Squidfest again. This year, I came prepared with some squid bait, so it was only 2:30 by the time I caught the 8 squid I needed to get the iridium target. Give me all of those rewards. The main one I missed out on last year was the Art of Crabbing book, which I cracked into immediately. I popped home to make a bit of room in my backpack so I could shoplift from Pierre again. Still no ingredients, and before I could return to the farm, I had to bring Sophia a gold bar she was after. Stealing a Stardew Valley almanac made my evening even better, but given that I'm maxed in masteries now, I'm not entirely sure why I read it. Habit, I guess. I did manage a bit more cooking that night, which only added another few grand to my quest progress. I might keep trying just a little bit, but I wasn't holding out much hope for actually completing it at this point. I didn't think there was anything I needed from the second day of Squidfest, so I skipped it to spend half a day 209 gathering magma geodes in the mines. I got 12 by the time I was over that task, but no new donations from any of them. To do something I was hoping would be a bit more fun, I brought a fish casserole I cooked but didn't sell because it gives a +3 binning buff, and I'm level 9, so that should put me at level 12. I thought I might be able to use it to access the prismatic trash can on the summit path. No such luck. I was so disappointed. Seems there's a bug preventing this from working, and I'm not sure if or when this will get fixed. To not waste the buff, I ran over to the walnut room to give the radioactive trash can a go. That requires level 10, but it didn't work there either. No fun and exciting loot for me today, I guess. The X counter wasn't even any better really. Still no cooking ingredients in here. The witch must have sensed my disappointment and dropped by with a gift overnight, then I was back in the mines again till the afternoon on day 210 for magma geodes. I found some ores that Clint asked to inspect whilst I was down there, and from those geodes I got one more donation. That just leaves the big site to go for the whole museum. On tonight's ingredient run, I managed to nick some wheat directly from Pierre's pockets without him noticing, and found a few bags of sugar in his counter. Sure, I could probably do with a mill, but right now, I don't want to build one. On the topic of ingredients, my last task of the day was to bring Gus more eggs for another giant omelette. That special order is always an easy win, and the prize ticket from it earned me a few artifact troves. I kicked off day 211 with a new batch of wine, followed by a visit to Robin to buy all the crafting recipes. I'd already completed both the special orders on offer this week, so I picked Gus's clearly very popular giant omelette again. I'll handle it when I build enough eggs back up. There was some starfruit waiting for me in the greenhouse, and now that this place is full, I was trying to be careful about only making enough seeds to replant the harvested spots so I can start setting aside the actual fruit for Aurora Vineyard. I'm already a quarter of the way there. It was also the first day of the night market. There's not a whole lot I need from here anymore, really. I just checked the merchant's boat in case there was anything useful, then I was hoping this would just be more of a quick stop off on my way to visit the island farm, but Abigail wouldn't let me through the door, so I just grabbed my free coffee and left. I was surprised to find Lewis on my doorstep on day 212. He was here to inform me that I can now build a winery if I want from Robin, but apparently it's a pricey one. He's not wrong. It's 200 hardwood, 30 iridium bars, 50 kegs, and an entire 1,000,000 gold. I'd love to have one on the farm one day, even if just a flex. Once I harvested and replanted all of my forage, I sorted the rest of my machines whilst I had the hiccups. I didn't even think about what day it was when I walked into Marnie's for a new animal. I was lucky she was there. I was after a new camel, a new Stardew Expanded edition that requires the premium barn. I'll name you Boba. I just had to go pet them immediately, and I brought a welcome gift of an animal cracker. I made sure to catch the boat to the island before the start of the night market today. I had to replant the ancient seeds that got destroyed by last week's weeds, and to clear off this week's weeds before they do the same. I harvested any ripe fruit there too. Then when I was ready to check out the merchant's boat at the market, I was irritated to see that nobody was blocking the door this evening, and the shop was still accessible. It was just Abigail being difficult yesterday. I was happy to purchase the beet seeds the merchant brought this evening, which reminded me to get going on the club card unlock. I brought a battery to the bus tunnel, a rainbow shell to the train station, 10 beets to the mayor's fridge, and the sand dragon its last meal, so I could dig out the club card tucked into the lumber pile at my house. On going to bed, I found out I reached level 5 thieving. I agonised over which option to pick for a couple of minutes, and ended up picking Robin Hood to potentially prevent the friendship loss when pickpocketing. On day 213, the now enormous raccoon family were in need of their next meal delivery. Some simple veggies got me another Stardrop tea. They are the most amazing little fairy friends. I then tried my hand at some magic tricks. I showed this guy a card and made him disappear. And for my next trick, well, that was my only trick. I was not expecting Mr. Key to have a go at me for checking the casino trash can, but I ignored that and bought just 100 key coins to get away with the bare minimum for the slots. I wasn't there long before I had the idea to warp home to grab a lucky lunch. I couldn't remember whether this actually affected the casino at all, but I wanted to try, even if it just worked in my brain. I bet 10 at a time till I had about 1,000, then spammed that 100 bet until I got a big win. Or 2 apparently. With that, I could afford the rare crow I needed, and I just had to get myself the statue of treasure. That needs no explanation. Any remaining key coins I spent on farm totems. The best part though, that alien rare crow gave me another noggin on which to display a trash hat. Starfruit duty occupied much of my evening, but I did of course loot the trash cans through town on my way to check out the final day of the night market. Didn't find anything of interest there, what a shocker, except for the free cup of coffee. For my less than legal freebies of the day, I picked Clint's which just had some frozen geodes I'm not sure I need anymore. On day 214, I found out that Boba the camel was all grown up and started shedding hair for me. I spun one into yarn and the other one into the shipping bin. Being a Thursday, I made some trays at the desert, mainly after the magic rock candy, and I couldn't resist grabbing a couple more golden carrot seeds whilst I actually remembered to bring the bars. I got my artifact trays and mystery boxes open just because I felt like it, then decided it was finally time for me to begin putting any amount of effort into the farm decorating, even if it meant just starting a sort of decking area behind the house. I didn't get it all done in one night, just to make sure I left a little bit of time to shoplift from Robin before bed. I was going to spend day 215 decorating again, but after finishing the wood decking, I checked the travelling cart where I found 5 triple shot espressos for sale. Along with a great luck day, I took this as a sign that I need to be in Skull Caverns today, but I didn't even bring those triple shots. I ate a dewdrop berry which lasts all day, and drank a super Jojo cola that I can't remember whether I stole from someone or found in the trash. Either way, this is something you can usually only get by doing the Jojo route, so I was going to take full advantage of this all-day buff. I had the 4 precious stones key quest to do. There's one. After passing out down on floor 145 that night, let's see if I got the other 3 I needed in the next morning's loot review. I only got 1 more Prezi. Maybe that +2 luck on the Super Jojo Cola was false advertising. I did get hundreds of iridium, and ended up swapping my trinket to an ice rod I got in there, because when my frog was eating the monsters, it was also eating their loot. And we can't have that now, can we? Still, we got hundreds of materials and a couple of seed makers, so whilst I didn't hit my 4 prismatic shard target, I'm still decently happy with the haul. Those extra seed makers would come in handy for the next Stardew harvest, even if I'm not needing to make quite so many seeds anymore. Instead of waiting for the next batch of wine to be done, I set up 42 new kegs a day early so they'll be ready for tomorrow. It was another afternoon of hunting magma geodes in the mines, but I only got 8 by the time I was over that job for the day. I came home to add a few more paths to the farm and got in a nighttime robbery from Clint's before he gets home from the saloon. On day 217, I brought my geodes to Clint to open and got the big sight on my very last magma geode. That's the museum collection complete again. And another star drop in my belly, again. I got my mystery boxes and troves open for potential gifts as well, then warmed up for a bit in the desert where I traded for 87 more staircases and 44 artifact troves. Given the museum collection, the troves might seem a weird choice, but I wanted them for the potential of pearls, golden pumpkins, and the treasure appraisal guide, which triples the value of artifacts. Now I should get a bit of extra profit selling the spares. Plus, I've been hoarding some in my chest for this very reason. The extra book I'll keep hold of for now. After an empty trip to the travelling cart, the wine was just finishing up in the shed. It was kind of satisfying turning it over right as it was becoming ready. I was ready to shoplift from Pierre that evening, but he'd been to Ginger Island, but I'll have to put that off until he removes the box from his counter. In the meantime, I could drop off the next 2 dozen eggs for Gus, pickpocket some stuffing from Sam, bring over some truffle oil, claim a star drop tea from the price ticket machine, go back to Gus with the coconut I forgot to give him, and to bring the henchman a rabbit's foot as a gift. A goblin friend wouldn't let us leave without an unlicensed potion brewing class. I wasn't expecting it to be quite so violent, but he taught me how to make a marsh tonic, which I probably shouldn't share my knowledge of with the townies, but it takes quite a lot of ingredients in exchange for a small speed boost and a much bigger attack and defense buff. That could come in handy one day if I remember it exists. All of that made me forget to shoplift, but between the wine, spare artifacts, and a few other bits, we made almost 280,000 gold. Day 218 was the Winter's Community Day. It's the first one I've actually remembered about, and the main pull for this event for me was that Sandy would be attending, and therefore away from the store. I still had to wait for 9 AM for the door to automatically unlock, but all that waiting to gain entry was pointless. Her stupid magic note is still keeping my hands out of her counter whenever she's out of the desert. Back in town, the bookseller also happened to visit today, so I brought a few spare books to trade. I took an extra monster musk and some deluxe bait, but I wasn't fussed about the spicy eel for the artifact book, so I'll just ship that one for cash. Given that I've forgotten about this event every other month of the year, I thought I should probably show my face at the community centre, especially since they're enjoying all of my hard work, but I wasn't up for socialising long. I was in the farm decorating mood. I don't tend to use the paths made out of refined quartz very often, but since we have so many from the recycling machines on this farm, I thought why not give them a second life? Also had to get some extra scarecrows down so they don't get eaten, and as much as I wanted to get this project finished in one evening, it was just not possible. During the night, the adoption agency dropped off a baby girl. I went with the name Raven, along the same thieving lines as Seagull, even if that is potentially a myth. Scarlet doesn't need to know how the name came to be. I wanted to bring Lance a gift whilst he was in town for day 219, but when I got to the Adventurers Guild, I didn't find him, I found Gunther. He was apparently asking for something that was too dangerous for Marlon to even consider, so he offered to put my neck on the line instead. I'm not scared. I'll happily show them that I'm the better adventurer here, so I told Gunther I'll happily escort him through the mines at some point. We'll set off on a future day. Marlon's going to need to teach Gunther a bit of combat first, and I really just wanted to get this tropical curry to Lance. I still got so far to go with his friendship. It was time to harvest the ancient fruit on Ginger Island and do the weekly weeding. Seems I've forgotten about the muscle rocks here for a while too. There were loads to break. Good thing I did. I got 2 more golden walnuts. Both this week's key quests are Skull Cavern related again, so I picked the invasion for the higher reward again, and then took a quick peek at the perfection tracker whilst I was there. We're over halfway, but yeah, I don't know what I was thinking at the end of year 1 when I said I wanted to reach perfection this year. That was never gonna happen. I paused work on that grind though to work on the pathing again. This little section, I'll be honest, I put down and picked up multiple times trying to figure out how to align everything, because with the way I'd done the pattern, it just kept on not looking right. But this night, I just settled for the fact that it was never going to quite look perfect, and that's okay. In a funny turn of events, considering I've been doing some sort of decorating, Pierre had left a catalogue out for me to steal. I mean, it's just for flooring and wallpapers, but hey, they're free and unlimited. Then, I got even better news that night. I'd finally hit level 10 binning! I'd been eyeing up the environmentalist profession much earlier, hoping for the friendship boost, but I didn't realise it was just 10 friendship points for every 1,000 trash. That's not worth it for me, so I'll be opting for more personal gain instead with the salvager profession. I took advantage of day 220's good luck with a trip to Skull Caverns to take on the invasion again. You know how these go by now. I did complete the Pepper Rex Monster Slayer goal as an extra win. With the help of a few staircases, I made it down to floor 100 in the early evening, then carried on down the floors looking for iridium nodes for their precious stones. But instead of passing out down here, once again, I can't remember why, but I left from floor 150. Let's have a look at the loot review a little early, I guess. There are the other prizzies I needed. I also got several trinkets I had to throw away, but I kept the parrot egg, and you might have already spotted that I got a fairy box. It's probably my favourite of the trinkets, it just makes life so much easier. I found another animal cracker, and I couldn't turn down the cauliflower seeds for next year, but the other notable finds are the auto grabber, which I no longer really need, the crystallarium, the extra seed maker, and the iridium sprinkler. I left with a couple of hours left to go in the day, and we got all of this. Amazing. On day 221, I had the shed in the greenhouse to harvest whilst waiting for the big feast in town to begin. I was relieved to see there wasn't another recipe to purchase at the event today. Then, after saying hi to a couple of people I need friendship with, I walked behind the stall. Not to steal, but to give Pierre a plate of fried calamari because he was my secret friend this year. My gift giver was Penny, who wrapped up a jade for me. That's great actually, it will go towards another staircase. On day 222, I could drop off my 4 fresh prizzies to get my key gems, and it was my first time entering this room with level 10 binning, so I checked the radioactive trash can, but all I got was an acorn and a scolding. I can't believe it took till almost the end of year 2, but it was this day I bought Pierre's missing stock list. I had no idea why I didn't prioritise this one. I think it just slipped my mind to be honest. I also grabbed the bluegrass starter recipe, the last one I needed. I caught my first clownfish whilst I was there for the collection, before bringing Lance another tropical curry up at the volcano. Then it was back to the valley for me to return that stock list to Pierre. Hopefully now I can steal seeds all year round. For dinner, I cooked myself another fish casserole. I wanted to know if the binning buff didn't quite work right because I wasn't level 10 yet last time. I really wanted to get into that prismatic trash can, but again, I still didn't have any luck. Not much I can do about that now, so I just foraged at the summit and raided Pierre's store, delighted to find the stock list already hard at work providing me some out-of-season seeds. On day 223, I harvested some more starfruit. I'd stop replanting it at this point because I now had more than enough to drop off the 200 demanded by the Junimo living somewhere around here. Nothing immediately happened, which was weird, so I left to make some more ancient seeds on the farm and replace some of the paths by one of the south exits because I missed a scarecrow down here and a portion of my work got munched. I added some more stony paths up by the greenhouse for some variation, then decided to just line that section of the path by the bridge with the rest of it, which meant redoing the vertical section for... I've lost count how many times now. I do often still value settling for good enough when spending the extra time isn't worth it, but you gotta admit, this does look better. To pat my back for a job well done, I stole some flowers and mushrooms from Pierre's, then carried on pathing just past the bridge, because I might as well stay up just a little longer waiting for the wine and jelly to be done. We're going all ancient fruit where possible now, so that night I added close to 400 grand to my balance. I woke up on day 224 with a sense that something was going on at Aurora Vineyard. I was expecting a beautiful refurbishment, but when I walked in, it was looking just as run down as ever. In the basement, there was a sleepy looking Junimo that I didn't mean to startle, but they expressed their happiness from my having given such a wonderful gift. Gift? I was hoping to take over this place to grow more ancient fruit and produce more wine. I spent all year on making decorations? I guess I'll have to win over this Junimo's trust over time. Next year, we've got a very important friendship to build, but for today, I need to focus on preparing the farm for the new season and the new year. I began planting some sacrifice winter seeds to hold the sprinkler spots for me. I know they won't grow, but it means less tending and watering tomorrow. Then I still wasn't quite where I wanted to be with the pathing, so I handled that, which included adding some stones to the animal area, so I always have a walkable route without having to wade through the long grass. The farm decoration is by no means finished, but I'd made enough progress today to be satisfied for now. For my last shoplift of the year, I swiped a variety of seeds from Pierre's. This year has been packed with milestones and shenanigans, but now, I think I'm ready for bed. Out of our 5 goals, we did unlock all the masteries, we reached level 10 binning, got married to Scarlet, and got the key to the town. We did not, however, build any of the obelisks. I suppose I could have afforded one on the last day, but this is me we're talking about. I ended up forgetting I actually had enough money. Plus, I do need to have enough for taxes in the next couple of days. 4 out of the 5 isn't bad at all though, and as for the other perfection requirements, we're almost there on the friendships, even if we do get some new ones next year. I do still have a lot of fish to catch, and gold to make and spend, but that just means we're in for a 3rd year of mischief, so make sure you're subscribed and ready. Please do leave a like on the video if you're enjoying Ember's antics. Thank you so much to my channel members, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!